Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6:03. Amber, do you have a roll call?
I do. It does look like Deb is on Zoom. Is that
Yes.
accurate? And then everybody else is present.
All right, just a quick announcement. Our chair has experienced a significant health issue for which she's under the care of a physician. This issue precludes her from being here in person and acting as chair. She will be joining us via Zoom as a voting member of the board. All right, first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. A couple of things actually quite a bit of things we need to do. First thing I'd like to do is move up for our executive session, item 14 and item 15, not to a designated place on the agenda, but to immediately follow whatever item of business we're in when the attorneys arrive. Acceptable?
Yes. Yes.
Right. And then the second issue with our agenda, I'm sure all of you have seen by now and reviewed Lisa's email. So she was looking to make 4 separate motions for each of the following. Lisa, if you don't mind, I can try to answer some of them and maybe some hopes to like try to keep some stuff short, and then we can decide if we still want to have them.
Okay,
That's all right.
Sure.
So the first one you wanted to discuss was adding a point under the restructuring, description of the restructuring committee, what it's being asked to do, and on the timeline, including a date for the next meeting, and the discussion and action. That's actually committee work. It's like discussing what we'll be doing and when we're going to have timeframes, that sort of thing. I can give an update. I also brought you a charge of what the committee is being asked to do, and I brought you a copy of the meeting minutes from the last meeting if you'd like to review them. But discussing how the committee is going to function and what we're going to be doing is more committee work. It's not really appropriate for board work. So,
So is there a restructuring committee?
let me get through this, please. So under the update, there'll be the date, the time, the place. I'll share this with you, but like I said, in an effort to try to get through this, which is a monstrous agenda, if that doesn't need to be on, but we can go through each one of them and then still vote if you'd like. The second one is about the Zoom, under old business, procedures for Zoom public comment, rewording of the procedures for Zoom public comment to procedures for hybrid meetings, public comment, and managing Zoom participation during meetings. So in regards to that one, it's at this point kind of moot. A couple of board members reached out to Deb, and some public members reached out to Deb, and she took into consideration their thoughts and is just not going to change anything. Leave things as is. Public comment stands. And then in regards to the security issues, Lauren Fearman and Lauren Baker have been working on, everything they can to keep our board meetings as clear as possible. Third one, under the update for non-discriminatory mascots, school branding policy field discussion, adding retiring the chieftain's name with discussion. This one has quite a bit. So let's see. It is because it's happening now, it's technically an unwarned vote, and in January we ran into a tremendous amount of issue having done that. It kind of was the catalyst for where we're at now. We are going to be speaking with our attorneys about this later in the meeting, so I think it might be good to have that information and digest that before we're making votes. There is a letter from Deb Belto that was received today. Let's see. So she sent this to the Secretary of Education. I'm sorry, the Acting Secretary of Education, the hearing officer, Emily Simmons, both of the lawyers that are actually not doing anything with the board or with this issue anymore, along with the other appellants. And in that, she says multiple things, but the paragraph addressing this is also at this meeting, if any time is allotted for NAGA or this letter, meaning our letter, during this meeting, it should be noted that It is an egregious waste of everyone's time. At this point, I feel this conversation needs to be taken out of public debate at these meetings and should not be determined at our hearing. I'm sorry, should be determined at our hearing as directed by Act 152. The time for board discussions is over, is it not? I thought that was the point of the appeal process. So the appellants to the issue at hand do not seem to want this to be back in our hands at this point. So there's that. And then in regards to the update to the non-discriminatory mascot school branding policy appeal, you wanted to add handling the funds to hire an attorney. Handling the funds to hire an attorney with discussion and action. We can discuss that. I don't know if that was in relation to the last meeting, but obviously there are no more funds going to the attorneys for this issue. So I didn't know if that was the issue that you were bringing forward. So I don't know if any of those answer what you're looking to get, and if we need to proceed with adding them, some of them, all of them.
Yeah, so I would just ask a clarification for the procedure for hybrid meetings in Zoom. When you say we're returning to the way it was
As it is
during
now,
COVID.
with Zoom,
as it is
with
right
Zoom. Yeah.
now. Okay, yeah, I'm happy to take that item off. The other three I would still like to add.
Okay.
And so I don't know if we should vote. Do we vote on those one by one?
One by one.
Okay.
There's discussion and action on each one of them. Right? Make a motion, please.
Okay, I move to add under committee reports restructuring point 2, that is a description of what the restructuring committee is being asked to do and on what timeline with discussion and action.
Is there more that you're looking to discuss other than what's in the charge and getting the date and time?
So like knowing what the committee is and just getting that information.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I have this packet for you, which has the charge, which is what the committee is being asked to do. And the discussion that happened thus far is the meeting minutes. There's only been one meeting minute or one meeting. And then the date and time, it was initially going to be for the 26th of October, but due to the superintendent search meeting at Cavendish, it is being put off to November 9th. So the next meeting will be November 9th, 6 p.m. here.
Point of order. Are you accepting the motion or?
I'm asking her, like, is there more beyond this? That's what I'm trying to.
So I think if board members have questions, that would be great. And if not, it'll be a really short, the paper answers it, but I think it'd be nice to have it on the agenda in case there are questions, which I think.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
So I moved to add that.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Okay. Motion passes unopposed.
I move to add under update on non-discriminatory mascot that's currently listed as with discussion only, to add a part A, retiring the chieftain's name with discussion and action.
Discussion.
Point of order. I think we need a second.
Second.
A second.
Further discussion.
Isn't this already in the hands of the state? Didn't we vote on this to send it to the state like 2 meetings ago? And I just don't understand why. Well, I know why. I mean, why do you guys think we have to do this? I mean, first of all, you take away the attorneys, and now you wanna rush this in and vote before this state does. And I think I know why, because I think I know how the state's gonna vote. Why are we voting on this?
I object to this. He started this all over again. There's absolutely no reason to do this, just
Mr.
because
Spalding,
we're gonna be all the way back
Spalding, out
around
of order.
ground zero.
Sorry, Joe. Mr. Moore.
I mean, it's your motion. Can you give me an answer?
So I thought it was supposed to kind of go through the chair then, rather than having this directed with me, but I'm okay right now. So bringing that up. So my reason is that I feel it was actually the will of the board at the previous vote when it came up of does the name violate the policy that the school board accepted? And that vote was not allowed to be retaken. It has been discussed multiple times, so I think we all have a really good idea of where the community is and where the students are on this issue. And so because I believe that the will of the board was not done with that vote, I think it's really important to bring it back.
Discussion?
Deb has her hand up. Yeah, no, go ahead, Deb.
I just want to say it's an unwarned vote, which shouldn't happen. And any decision that's made can be appealed to the state because it's unwarned. So I would caution against that. And as far as the vote not being the will at the time, Adrian has copies of the transcript from that vote, which clearly show that it actually was a vote of the people that were there, and she can pass those out to all of you. It's in the lawyer's hands. We don't need this to come back to the board and waste more time on this. Even one of the complainants said, this is not where this belongs now.
So I think this has taken a lot more time, even to just get it on the agenda. If we had agreed to put it on and taken the vote, this could have been a 30-second kind of thing. And I think it's important that we, as a board, as people who are representing the school and as board directors actually make a statement for our students in the school about what we think should be true.
Alexander. So we've already taken a vote before as a board. We have discussed, as Deb just said, we asked to have the state decide for us. The monies that we have spent with the lawyers was because of people asking and charging to find out what's going on with the name. So we wouldn't have had any costs if we had waited for the state to make the determination. We have 3 people who have asked about the name, and that's why the costs have become and have gone up for the lawyers.
So the statement we were given.
We waited for the state. We were hoping that the state would make their decision. Nothing has happened. We are trying to get that information from the state. And we have waited. We are trying to hold. That's why we are waiting. We are trying to wait for the lawyers to give you other folks information that was in the executive session that you would have all understood why we made our decisions as to move as we did. If you would wait, then you could speak with the lawyers about exactly what went on in that executive session. I would like you to wait, all of you to wait, myself, so that you can listen to what we all agreed upon with the lawyers to do that.
So what I'm asking for.
That's what I'm asking.
What I'm asking for now is for this item to be added to the agenda, which would most definitely be after the executive session with the lawyers. So I maintain that I would like to have it added to the agenda as something that we can discuss as a full board. And that's what I'm asking for.
I would just like to add that the email requesting this agenda item, at least the most recent one that I see, was on October 13th, which would have been ample time to warn this. And I believe that, well, I'll just say that it would have been ample time to warn it, and it was not added to the agenda as requested.
I don't know if you received the, I don't know the exact email chain that everybody has. I know Deb answered Lisa. I felt it would be advisable to make motions as a board together. Because of the. And
Yeah, that's something to- Go ahead.
I'd just like to reiterate that as an unwarned thing, there shouldn't be any action. If you want to have discussion, that's one thing, but I do not think you should vote to add action to this. I think you're just going to open up another big kettle of worms, and it's not going to ever end.
I guess I'd just like to reiterate my point that the request to have this on the agenda was with ample time to warn, and to now have the argument be we can't take action because it wasn't warned seems like a conflict that could have been addressed if Director Sanders could have added to the agenda at their request prior to.
okay. Okay.
Alexander, one more time. Okay, so I'd just like to say that we're here as board members to do what we can with the money that we have from all the towns to do our work. And it's a very quick amount of time that we have to do what we need to do. We need to focus on the children, number one, and our teachers and administration, number two. Our safety is paramount. You need to work on the board's work to help the administration move through. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of things that we need to get done. This is a very, very small item that needs, yes, I understand, it needs to get taken care of, but we've got a lot of other stuff that Todd needs, a lot of other stuff that other schools needs. We need to move. This needs to be an item, yes, that's fine. We've got a lot of other stuff that we need to get done.
Any further discussion?
Adrian, I just wanted to comment, Kate, I thought Adrian answered your question about it being warned. I answered Lisa and said that I thought it was a decision that the whole board should make to put it on the agenda, not just me. So it would have to be a vote of the entire board to put it on a future agenda, and then it would be warned properly.
Any further comment, discussion? All right. So Lisa's made the motion, Kate seconded it. I'm sorry.
Could we clarify, is it it's discussion and action or just discussion?
My motion was that it be discussion and action.
Okay. Prior to the vote, I am going to say that this, I am going to rule that this is a vote or a decision that's out of order. You know, it can be put on the next scheduled agenda without any, you know, we can make that vote now. It's an unwarned vote. So I just want that on record that I do think it's out of order.
Well, I just
Yeah.
would like
I'm
a
sorry.
second opinion on that. I need more.
Would you like to take a recess and look it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be great.
So take a motion.
Can we do that when we get to the item on the agenda? So if we're voting
That would
now
be fine with me.
to put it on the agenda, the objection as it being out of order could also wait until we get that item on the agenda, and we could look it up then rather than.
Hold up things.
That's fine.
All right. Motion is made and seconded. All in favor?
Excuse me, you know you're going to, or that it won't be unanimous, you might like to ask Amber to do the vote.
Fair. Amber, can you do a roll call vote?
Sure. Jeff,
No.
Rick,
No,
Steve,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Lois,
Yes.
Scott,
No.
Deb,
No.
Adrian. Six in favor, 4 opposed.
Motion to add that is
And then I move that under update on non-discriminatory mascot, we also add B, the handling of funds to hire an attorney with discussion and action. And to your point about it, the last meeting was specifically to stop that funding continuing to happen. But I do think that there was a mishandling of the issues, or at least mishandling of the information that many of us didn't know about. And so that's what I'm wanting to discuss.
Would that be something discussed in executive session with the lawyers?
It will have to be.
No,
No.
this is me wanting to discuss board procedure, all of which happened in open meetings.
Board procedure as in like policy, or are you just looking to talk about the issue itself?
What was actually done in board meetings with information.
All right, let's make a motion.
Seconded.
Seconds it. Further discussion?
Jeff,
No.
Rick,
No.
Steve,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Lois,
Yes.
Scott,
No.
Deb,
No.
Adrian still not voting? It passed again, 6-4.
That is everything. So, next item on the agenda.
You need to approve the.
I'm sorry, can I have a motion to approve the agenda with the?
Wait, I have one more addition. Is that
I'm
okay?
sorry. Sorry.
I think in light of what's shown up on social media this past week, we need to put an agenda item on to talk about that.
So you want to add an agenda item to talk about what's come up on social media. Is there, how would you like to define that?
Maybe misuse of public emails, I don't know.
For a second,
Yes.
discussion. Favor? Actually,
Jeff,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Steve,
No.
Kate,
No.
Lisa,
No.
Josh,
No.
Katie,
No.
Lois,
No.
Scott,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Adrian still not voting? It failed 6-4.
Wow.
does not pass.
All
right. Any further additions or deletions? Any motion to approve the agenda with the changes? Good.
Second.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
Roll call, please.
Jeff,
No.
Rick,
No.
Steve,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Lois,
Yes.
Scott,
No.
Deb,
Nope.
motion carries 6-4.
Great. So the agenda is approved. Next thing on the agenda is board expectations.
Yes, I'm sorry, we've had people raise their hands, I'm assuming, and would like to say to them that we're not taking public comment until public comment time.
Is that,
I don't want people thinking we're ignoring the raised hands.
I don't know if that was for,
I say it again. So for people who are raising their hands out on Zoom, we will not be taking public comment until we get to the section on public comment.
Board expectations. Everyone has read all material prior to tonight's meeting. Everyone will be respectful to one another. Conflict will be handled openly and constructively. We will at times focus on our roles and responsibilities as board members and represent the needs and interests of all the students in our district. We will lead by example. We will maintain open communication with each other, the administration, and the community at large. We will listen to input during public comment, but refrain from engaging in discussion of the issues raised. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Quite a few. First one is August 17th, 2023 regular meeting.
Motion to
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm abstaining because I wasn't on board at the time.
I was absent.
Do you have that, Amber? Next, 17 minutes is August 31st, 2023.
Motion to accept.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm abstaining because I wasn't.
Amber? Yes. Next set of meetings, September 21st, 2023.
Motion to accept. Seconded.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next set of meeting minutes, September 26th, 2023.
Motion to accept. Seconded.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Last set is September 27th, 2023.
Motion to accept. Seconded.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thing on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Right. Got just a few things for people. We continue to have a lot of work around the discovery of PCBs at the high school. There's more information about that from Todd, who is here somewhere. We had a large report from Harper Environmental, 490 plus pages, and Todd will talk about what is in that so that we can be getting some of that information out, and additional sampling happening and testing happening at the Chester Andover School this weekend. We'll talk about this a little bit in the TRSU board about as well, but our rescheduled board meeting, also known as a retreat, happened 2 weeks ago, September 27th. You just approved the minutes for it, from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock at Jackson Gore. Debbie Singizer from VSBA was our facilitator. Kara Zimmerman, an attorney also from the VSBA, spoke about Robert's Rules of Order, meeting procedures. Almost everybody from this board was present. We didn't have a quorum of Ludlow Mount Holly, but we did have a quorum of the TRSU members. And we did go through at that meeting suggestions for, at our next TRSU meeting, to finish up the goals for 23-24 by deciding on deadlines for the goals that are missing deadlines and completing an annual work plan. So all of the board members have all of that information. At the next TRSU meeting, we will be talking about setting those deadlines. And it would be a good idea if you all have input for the TRSU board representatives to bring back that, to make sure that they have that before November 2nd, which is when the TRSU meeting will happen. I mentioned back in February or March that there was a class action suit brought on behalf of the TRSU, and virtually every school district or supervisory union in America, class action against Juul Labs for vaping and tobacco products directed at students and underage people. We were part of that, and that was settled back in March. We'll be receiving approximately somewhere between $27,000 as that award, which we will get at some point this fall. I'm not sure exactly what the date this fall means, but hopefully soon. There's also been recently an additional settlement in similar claims against a company called Altria, also does tobacco-related products. Oh my. We will receive just over $7,000 associated with that claim. And out of those two, attorney fees and costs will come, so we'll get a little bit less than the numbers I just gave you. When we know that is actually being given to us, it goes to the TRSU. At the moment, I've had questions from other boards about whether there are restrictions about how we have to use that. And I don't have that information at this point. When they actually are giving us that money, I'm sure we will get the information about how and what in particular we can use it for. So you're aware. Let's see. The VSA, the Vermont Superintendent Association, and the Vermont School Board Association's joint meeting, the first one of the year, is happening at Lake Maury on October 26th and 27th. That is open to all Vermont School Board Association members, while usually the board chair and the superintendent go as part of the required 8 hours of joint professional development that the board chair and the superintendent have to attend. It is open to all members if you have an interest. And registration link is up on the VSBA website. Even if you haven't registered, if you show up, I would be able to have you come and join us for that. And there are some SUs and districts that have a number of board members attend in order to get, as Debbie talked about at our retreat, there's a lot of excellent information available. So if you're interested, you can register for it or talk to me about it. Excuse me. There's also a webinar that the VSBA is putting up on November 14th that will happen at noon online, called Line Items, Tax Rates, and Budgets, Oh My, which is valuable for all board members about budgeting. So it's a nice bit of information. That is also something you can register for on the VSBA website. All of you should be receiving regular emails from the VSBA. If you're not, or you have any issues with that, let me know and we'll make sure that we take care of it. We posted Friday last week the job for the curriculum director for the TRSU to start on July 1st. As you know, and Gardner returned to the classroom, and we are running this year with our two amazing curriculum people doing some specialty work and also picking up some of the things from not having a person in that curriculum director role. But we are hoping to have applicants so that we can make a decision early and know well in advance who's going to be taking that job on July 1st. So we've got a couple of applications already. My hope is that we will be doing interviews. The ad will run through October 30th. I hope that we will be doing interviews within that first week or first 2 weeks in November and be able to tell you who our next curriculum director will be before Thanksgiving. We're similarly going to be looking to do some reconfiguration around the technology department, and we are going to be posting for a new director for the technology department in the next week or so. Lauren Baker will be retired. And will continue to work with us in any the best capacity that we can find. But we are going to be posting that job and looking to fill it so that we know well in advance who will be in that position. So if you know people who are interested in those, I'm sure they hear about it. Then the last thing I have for you is just, we talk about professional development for our teachers frequently. Our administrators engage in professional development as well. And we all spent, our principals and TRSU coordinators spent 3 hours this morning working with David Melnick, who is from the Northeastern Family Institute. He's their director of Transforming Trauma Collective. He's been working with us for several years, and he is doing a training for leadership. So he has spent a great deal of time talking with us about how to help all of our teachers and all of our community understand what is happening for excuse me, for students and for adults who have had trauma in their lives, and in particular talking about the neurobiology and neurophysiology of stress, something that everybody could think about, which is the sort of knowledge that when people get to a certain point in stress, they stop being able to make good and rational decisions and tend to move into fight, flight, or freeze. And that as people working in education, remembering that that is what happens can help us to respond in a more productive way to our students and our fellow staff members when we're in those kinds of situations. And there's endless other things to talk about, but you will hear from our curriculum director and facilities director and the financial manager here as well. Are there questions for me about anything? Yes.
Sorry, I always have a question.
That's okay.
The class action funds, are they specifically directed towards certain action like substance use prevention, or will they be general funds?
I won't know that till they distribute it, and I assume we will get along with the, here is your $1.33 left after the attorney fees, but here is whatever we are receiving.
Okay.
Maybe more than that we will get and this is how you can use it.
Great.
Questions, Lauren? Next item on the agenda is the principal's report.
Any questions? We had a very short meeting last time, so we didn't get much put out there. I don't know if you want us to present a summary of what we've got. There's a lot of information. I know we sent it out to the board, but there's other people with us tonight that might want to hear. For Green Mountain, I'm John Broadley, the principal of Green Mountain. And this is Miss Leith, our assistant principal, who really does a lot of the work. She's a great person. It seems an eternity. We've only actually had 36 school days, but it seems an eternity that we've been here. It's great. We've learned a lot. We've done a lot. I'm finally getting to know all the staff names and a lot of kid names. High notes. We had open house. We had a successful open house. It was fairly well attended. I'd still like to see more families there. It's always hard whenever you plan these to get a night where it suits everybody. And between dinner and maybe having two siblings in school, that it's hard to get around everybody. But we have our parent-teacher conferences and student-led conferences coming up on November 9th. The student-led will be for our 7th and 8th grade middle school, and our parent-teacher conferences will be for our high school. And really what I want to encourage is any parents, guardians, siblings that want to talk to any of us, please contact us. Very open, very progressive in what we're doing, moving forward, very clear, and want to include everybody in stuff that we do in school. Be very transparent was what I was looking for. The play is going very well. I know everyone's really thrilled about that. I know I am. Murder on the Orient Express, and it will be shown on the 3rd and 4th. And our kids have been working really hard. I try not to go in and disturb them, but I do take an interest, and I have begged the director to give me a cameo role in the musical. He's thinking about it. So, but our kids are doing a great job. They really are. Few extras on top of my principal reports. I know I set a goal at the beginning of the year, 95% attendance. To date, we're just under 94%, which I'm kind of happy with, really, because the bar at 95 was good, and we're almost there. And our student participation right now, and again, I want to clarify that the student participation is kids that get involved in everything around school, everything that's going on, whether you're in the play, whether you're in the student government, whether you play a sport, everything you do. I could have a list of everything, and I'd be happy to get you a list. But right now, we have 51% of students participating. And that will only go up because we haven't covered the winter season, the spring seasons for sports, the musical, etc. So I'm very hopeful we're going to get in the 80s or 90s. And certainly won't be for the long run. So, but that's it in a nutshell. I don't want to take all night because I know you've got a busy night. I'm very happy with the school. The school is a phenomenal school. I love it here. I wish I'd come sooner. And we got a lot of work we can still do. There's a lot of great things happening. There's a lot of exciting work that we can do ahead and take this school to high places. Right now, in case anyone's interested, we are ranked 10th in the News and World. And our goal is we want to be number 1. So, thank you. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I've heard a lot of good things about you from parents, a lot of good things. And I just want to let you know that there's a lot of parents talking really good about you.
Excellent.
Both of you.
Yeah, thanks.
Same parents and students,
Yes,
actually.
yep.
Thank you.
Great to hear.
Well, John's a tough act to follow, I have to say.
No.
I also want to be in a musical, so let me know. Joey Blaine, I'm principal at Chester Andover, and I will also start on a positive note. I'd say that school climate this fall is excellent. Our teachers are hard at work. There's so much joy in the hallways. We're trying to really infuse our work with that positive energy. And one small example is our music teacher going above and beyond, creating a staff band who are going to do a song at our next all-school assembly. We hope to the delight and not the dismay of the children. And I'm involved in that, and it's lots of fun. We're busy at work with our teachers, setting goals for their professional development for the year. I've been hard at work, meeting and getting to know all the staff and hearing what their goals are for the year, in developing their PEP plans, their personal educational plans. We continue to struggle with space at Chester Andover. The loss of the White House has really felt hard. We are jammed into every nook and cranny of our building. I have a piano in my office. Band lessons happen in the assistant principal's classroom. You'll see kids doing work, makeup tests all over the building. We're struggling, but we're working really hard. And I think we continue to meet our students' needs. So I'm proud of my staff for that. We also had an open house. It was a fall barbecue open house, which replaced that school year's eve. We pushed it back into school a couple weeks because we thought it was going to have a better atmosphere where students could really show their families around and take ownership of their space. And that's exactly what happened. We got lots of feedback for that. It was very well attended, and it felt like a really positive experience for all involved. We've begun all our fire drills, our new options-based drills, which are part of the new guidance from the AOE. Our after-school program is alive and kicking and running smoothly. It's full to capacity with a waiting list. We are looking at 50 kids a day, which is about 20 more than they had last year. Fall testing is something we just got through. MAP testing is complete. Teachers are busy looking at data and letting that inform their instruction. On top of that, we're using our new district-wide tool for math diagnostic called IXL, which is really helping teachers do some formative testing and dig deeper into our data to pinpoint student levels and let that inform groupings and instruction. And last but not least, we continue to partner with Kids First, which is a very generous group providing much needed aid to our school community. Seemingly whenever we ask for it, they're very supportive for us and we're really grateful to them. So that's in a nutshell.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm a principal at Cavendish Town Elementary School, and one of the things that Joey said we're doing as well, testing and all the professional development, all those things. Let's see what else. The playground is still under semi-construction. We have one more big apparatus that's going to be put together. And that's going to take place on November 4th and November 5th. And we need volunteers, so any school board members who are available on those dates, come by, put on your overalls and boots and come out and help us with this last piece of equipment. Our playground looks more like an amusement park, and the kids love it. They're very engaged, and so far injuries are really low, and the kids are really just having a great time. So thanks to all the people who've already helped, and Jen Harper is leading that charge. She's the contact person if you'd like to volunteer. And we'll take anyone from any school who won't help us. Staffing, we have right now a vacancy. We'll have a vacancy in grades 3, 4, our combination classroom. With Ms. Long retiring, and that'll be a position that's only until the end of the school year. We're actively searching for that position now to hopefully fill it. She retires, and I'm happy to announce that we have our head custodian position filled after 2 months, and he's starting tomorrow. And we're really excited about Mr. Monroe starting at our school, and he's going to be just a positive force in our building, and we're really excited about him our staff. And that's, I want to thank our nighttime custodians, Ms. Deb and Mr. Gruber, because they were just Mr. Randy, because they were doing a fantastic job in the absence of our head custodian. Todd Parrott was also and it's up for our school. Trees in front of our school, if anyone's been by Cavendish, they were knocked down from the really bad storm that we had. And it was kind of sad going into school the next morning and just seeing it's very bare. It looks very bare. So on Arbor Day, we are going to plant new trees. We're already setting up some work with Peggy Speck, who's our library board chair. She's working with me and some other folks to have an Arbor Day celebration and plant at least 5 new trees there in front of the building because it just looks so bare. We have to put the trees back. That's something. So if you're riding by Cavendish and it looks bare, don't worry, we're going to fill that empty space up with some trees. Let's see this. And I did meet with the library board. I know it's a unique situation, the library board being a public library combined with the school. I met with those folks, and we're already starting a great partnership. And I'll be attending those meetings and working with the library board to continue the success of the library. And our PCG met, and I have all kinds of fun things planned for the community coming up for October. And let's see, and student-led conferences are coming up. That's all. I have my first chat with the community, fireside chat on October 14th. This is not 24th, excuse me. If the community has any questions or about anything that's going on at the school, it's an opportunity for me to be open and available to them, just to have access to me and ask questions. It's going to be resumed. This will be our first meeting. If it's successful, we'll continue to do it. I plan to have like a topic for discussion for the community, and the first one's going to be about attendance and truancy and making sure kids are at school and on time. And that's it. I'm fully certified as administrator in Vermont, and so is Julie Kelly, and so is Don Terrell. So 3 of us got our official certifications in the mail last week, so we're all excited that we're certified.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions?
Next item on the agenda is the TRSU Facilities Director report.
Board report?
Did we skip that?
Curriculum.
Did I?
Reports.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm jumping in and some of this over. Curriculum reports and presentations.
I could share my screen. Great.
You should be able to pull it up.
Well, I'm Emma Bastola, I'm the K-6 Literacy Coordinator for TRSU, and Julie and I together this year are co-presenting the Curriculum Instruction Assessment Board report. Well, I should say we co-design the presentation, then one of us presents in alternating months. So it will be a similar structure to in years past where we break down what our students learning, how are our students doing, and what are we doing to continue to improve teaching and learning. And we're focusing first on literacy and then math in those three areas. So what are our students learning? So this year I really am targeting breaking down the foundational skills. Last month's report, I talked a little bit about phonemic awareness, and this month I'm talking just about phonics, but how it relates to our commitment to structured literacy. You may have seen in the news lately, it's been a pretty hot topic around balanced literacy and structured literacy, but to share with everyone that we've taken a commitment to, or made a commitment to structured literacy to support students to become skilled readers. So structured literacy means highly explicit, scaffolded, cumulative, diagnostic, and systematic teaching of the language comprehension and word recognition strands of the reading program. So word recognition, when we talk about phonics, we use a program called Foundations to talk to teach students explicitly the method of teaching that provides people the ability to read by correlating sounds with letters or groups of letters in the alphabetic writing system. So structured phonics is the most effective way. It's research-based, scientific, of ensuring students acquire knowledge of the letter sound correspondences that are fundamental to becoming successful readers. So phonics goes hand in hand with reading texts that are coordinated at the children's decoding skills ability, so they're able to read increasingly complex texts over time. This is a snapshot of some of the workbooks that our teachers are utilizing in the K-3, and also some of the snapshot of some of the decodable books that our teachers in our 4 elementary schools are utilizing. So the table on the right here is the acquisition of skills developed over time, starting with closed syllables or 3 sounds and moving progressing along to more robust or controlled vowel syllables, and then into more advanced concepts like split vowels and silent letters. And you can see typically the grade levels associated with where those skills are developed. In math, we're focusing on multiplicative reasoning, and so here are some strategies that are used to solve facts that you don't know. So really, we're trying to develop a conceptual understanding of how multiplication develops in students' minds. And so really, you're starting here with these repeated addition, going into doubling strategy, and helper facts, making equal groups, building arrays in the break apart strategy. So our teachers are really teaching and talking about these strategies with students in order to get at their conceptual understanding. And it wouldn't be a math presentation without asking you to do a math problem. So I'm going to ask you to think about this problem. It's a multi-digit multiplicative comparison problem. So Miss Kara's class has a string of parts plant in the classroom. After they have the plant for 6 months, its longest spine measures 272 centimeters. That was 16 times longer than when the class first got the plant. How long was the vine when it arrived in the classroom? Show your work. So I'll just give a minute. No phones. Show your work. Show your work.
I can show my work.
So most of you probably started to go to this traditional algorithm division problem. So here's another example of a model where you're thinking, okay, it's what we're called the area model. So we start to break it down into these different pieces. So 160, 85, 32. And so the vine was 17 inches long when it first arrived in the classroom. So these area models are used for thinking to develop that conceptual understanding when we get to this algorithm procedural piece. So I think that the one thing that many of us probably think that we go to the division problem, but you can use multiplicative reasoning to really understand and deconstruct the problem more to understand it. So how are our students doing? I took the snapshot. This is a benchmark from reading fluency from all our elementary schools, and I wanted to showcase how the foundational skills develop over time. So this is the fall benchmark data, and it's comparing the foundational skills to oral reading. So with the science of reading, we're really trying to get at developing the foundational skills to become fluent readers, so you get that oral reading rate. So you'll notice that in kindergarten, all our kindergartners have foundational skill scores. Still in first grade, they're still learning to decode phonics, different phonetic patterns. And then as they become more skilled readers in second grade, and hopefully we want by third grade, 100% oral reading scores to be all our students to have 100% oral reading scores. So they're able to connect the text and decode. And so that is what I wanted to showcase there, as well as just some of the data in our schools that teachers are using with students. So here's an example of pulling words apart into different pieces, including vowel teams and consonant blends. And here is a grade 1 model where we're really pulling on the sound and connection with the letters. And here's a fourth grade model where it's more, they're asking to think about what a sound in a word is and deconstruct more the parts of multi-syllabic words, similar to almost like a traditional spelling test, but really focused on certain skills. Here is a snapshot. You notice that Ms. Blaine mentioned that all our classrooms have been doing the IXL benchmark this year. And so this is a snapshot of all our K-12. So you'll notice that the green is above or on grade level, the yellow is below grade, and the orange is far below grade. And I'll just take a minute for us to look at that. Notice that the colors change over time. So that's something that we're aware of. That's not great. It's something that we're working on, and that's why we have the data, and we want to use it to uncover where we can grow and what we can do about it.
And can I just add, Emma, that as Joey mentioned, this is one data point. There are other data points that we are using to make decisions about how to improve outcomes mathematically for our students. One of the nice things, two nice things I'll mention about IXL, this is the first time that I can recall in quite some time, maybe ever since I've been here, that we've had K-12 data to work with. And this particular platform, as Joey said, doesn't just report an achievement score. Every single student reflected in those bar graphs has a diagnostic action plan that points teachers and students toward the skills they need to work on. So it's not just pinpointing a score, it's identifying skills that need to get worked on to try and improve math understanding. So we're looking forward to how we can make best use of this tool to improve outcomes for students.
So next, the third part is what are we doing to continue improving teaching and learning? I wanted to just pull out that we have an implementation team around a new assessment that really targets the skills in reading instruction that is an indicator of reading achievement over time. So we are really focusing on systematic explicit foundational skills instruction. So this assessment and the team of educators that are working on this pilot are really diving deep into seeing how this assessment, the dynamic indicators of basic early literacy skills, could help us progress monitor and strengthen our systems and capacity to improve instruction for our students in K-3 this year. But over time, we're thinking how it could improve K-6. In math, we are participating in the Vermont Agency's State Systemic Improvement Plan, which is state identified measurable results to improve the proficiency of math performance for students with disabilities in grades 3, 4, and 5. So we've been working with systems coach and with the state on that, as well as we continue to provide really excellent professional development around OGAP formative assessment, the multiplicative framework, which is really connected to the work that you saw earlier in the presentation, around multiplicative reasoning and formative assessment sessions. We have that coming up in January and February. We had one actually just this week on fractional reasoning with, and 11 educators are already registered for the one coming up, and we had how many?
We had 16 attend the fraction session.
Yeah. Thank you. I want to thank Julie, and I want to thank also all the teachers for doing amazing work and for listening. If there's any questions, please do.
Thank you. Okay, our lawyers have arrived, so we're going to be moving our next agenda items up. Sorry.
Hate to change the student report from here, you know what I mean?
We certainly,
Yeah, I mean, there's no
we
red
can,
lines.
I'm assuming it'll be unanimous, it has to be a 2/3 vote to change it within the agenda.
I make a motion, we change the agenda to have the student report now before the attorney. So second.
Unanimous, okay.
Good
Vote
call.
passes without objection. So student report.
You're on. All right, so homecoming is this Friday, the 20th, which is tomorrow. It's gonna be following a fall theme this year. And middle school's Halloween dance is gonna be next Friday on the 27th. Cross-country season just ended, and soccer season is beginning to come to a close. Large amounts of school spirit have been shown at these games, with many students attending to give their support for the teams. And on Friday, we'll have a pep rally to send off the high school boys soccer team. Juniors are taking the PSATs next Tuesday, and this year the PSATs will be fully digital. This is the last scheduled PSAT before the juniors take the SATs, so many of the students are nervous, but many teachers have been encouraging us to use IXL to get our math scores up, and that's been very helpful. The fall play, as Mr. Broadley said, is Murder on the Orient Express. It's written by Agatha Christie. It's going to be shown November 3rd and 4th, and it's a murder mystery set on a train in the 1930s. Lastly, the Green and Gold, which is our school newspaper, is going to have its second publication of the year, released October 27th. That's the last Friday of the month. And publications should be released consistently on the last Friday of the month. And we're excited to have more consistent publications this year, and we've had more people joining the club.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I need a motion to enter into executive session for.
We've got two things going on, so I'll read the first one. I need a motion to find that premature general public knowledge of issues with regard to attorney-client communication would place the board at a significant disadvantage because the board would be waiving its right to attorney-client privilege by discussing confidential communication in open session. In part two, motion to enter. Oh,
That's the motion. Is there a second?
yes.
Any discussion?
Can I just ask a clarifying question? We're just going into executive session for XIV 14?
14. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 2.
I'd like to make a motion to enter executive session to discuss the confidential attorney-client information with regard to the non-discriminatory mascot and school branding appeal under provisions of Title I VSA 313A1F, inviting Chris Leopold and Mick Letty and Lauren Fearman for part of the meeting.
Wait a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
What is that by for part of the meeting?
I was asked to put that in because we think we should be talking to the attorneys without her present for some things.
Could we excuse her from executive session without that being in the motion? Like, we could say, we don't need you in here anymore, we'll go by, as opposed to putting it, I worry that putting it in a motion requires us to somehow have her gone for part of the session, and I have no idea why we would do that. You know, overthinking it. I would prefer to not have that. I would prefer to addend it to not have that, and then just excuse her if we as a board decide that we want to have part of the meeting with her.
I would add it in the list.
Sorry?
Then I would add it on to that, what you just said. That we excuse her for the motion, yes. Add
Then
that
I
to the
should
motion.
make an
Correct.
addendum to add
Correct.
it to the motion. Sorry, this word gets confusing.
Adrian,
Yes.
would it not be easier to just let the board have a discussion without Lauren and then invite her in if anybody wants to say anything before she's there? Would that not be easier?
Thoughts?
I'm personally not comfortable having that conversation without our superintendent, without knowing the basis behind excusing her.
Yes.
It's not customary to have her not part of
I
it.
think the basis of it, as I've understood it, is to have the lawyers speak with the board as a whole. So that people felt comfortable having conversation, you know, for your conversation, if I understand it right. And then bringing her in for the remainder, not excluding her, just allowing an opportunity for people to be able to speak freely. When maybe other people don't feel like they can. Faces or not, that's what I was asked.
It's also mysterious. This is also
But
mysterious.
I just explained
Okay.
it, so people were feeling a little uncomfortable. So that's my understanding.
I make a motion to addend the agenda item to strike the statement for part of the meeting.
Okay, any further discussion?
I'm sorry, Josh, was that a second?
Yep.
So the motion, could you read? the motion?
Not without that piece of paper, I won't type that fast.
You have to vote on the amendment first.
The motion on the floor is to amend the original motion to read,
Yes.
motion to enter executive session to discuss the confidential attorney-client information with regard to non-discriminatory mascot school branding appeal under the provisions of Title I VSA 313A1F, inviting Chris Leopold, Nick Letty, and Lauren Fearman. That's Kate's motion to amend. That is not the final motion. yet.
Okay.
That's the amended.
All right.
That's all.
Any further discussion on that one? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
Roll call, please.
Jeff,
No.
Rick,
No?
Steve,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes?
Lisa,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Lois,
Yes.
Scott,
Oh.
Deb.
No.
Motion carried 6-4.
So then we need to have the second part of the motion.
So the amended motion is now motion to enter executive session to discuss the confidential attorney-client information with regard to the non-discriminatory mascot and school branding appeal under the provisions of Title I VSA 313A1F, inviting Chris Leopold, Nick Letty, and Lauren Fearman.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So we'll be entering into executive session. You would take your thing and everybody take their bag.
Thank you, Principals.
Hello, everybody. Just so you know, it's an hour and a half in. This is my report. But this is the Harper PCB report. So we'll get into this, but this is available on the RSU website, on the GM website. Feel free to look at it. We'll get into that a little bit here in a minute. I'll try to get through this as quick as I can. Your schools are actually in pretty good shape. Cavendish, we got a little hiccup with the playground. Jen and I have been working on that. We're working with our insurance company and with the playground project manager. They have a little difference of opinion, but we will get through that. So good news, you would approve $16,000 to fix the heating system at Cavendish. CTI came in, got that project done, and it came in at $12,399.71. So we did not need to fill $16,000 for capital improvement for that. So that was good news. Chester Andover, Cavendish, the new facility supervisor will start tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow morning to help Dale, and then I'll work with him and get him kind of settled in and moving forward with that. I think will be an easy transition. Chester Andover, we have completed that project that you approved for ESSER funds. And if you want to, I think I've reported that, if you want to talk to anybody at Chester Andover, there's a noticeable difference in the fresh air in that building. We should strive to have those heat recovery units on every one of our schools. Everybody talked to that's been there for a long time will tell you they can tell the difference about the fresh air in the building. We had a little hiccup with that when we had some electrical storm. We thought lightning had hit the building. It didn't. It hit close to the building. Just happened that a motor gave out. EI came in, took care of that. No problem. They had a leak in the roof, which is not uncommon with a project. The roofing company came and took care of that. The egress windows are in. So all that has came along extremely well and well within budget. The White House at Chester Andover is something Cheryl and I have been working with FEMA and Visbit on. Cheryl and I talked earlier, I think a good phrase is we're cautiously optimistic with FEMA. They're telling us the first group of people we met were not so confident that we'd see any substantial funding. The second guy came from Kansas City, Missouri. He oversees like the majority of natural disasters on the eastern seaboard. He's a very high guy in FEMA. He was more optimistic. He wouldn't promise anything, but he wants us to jump through a bunch of hoops, which we're going to do to see what we can get from FEMA. This could be a couple-year project. I don't know from FEMA. We just don't know. But it sounds like we should get something for the White House, which is, like Joey said, is unavailable to be used right now. So that's complicated, but thank God for Cheryl. Cheryl's been talking with them quite a lot. Green Mountain, as everybody could see, if they came in a day like the sidelawn is done. It came out great. Came out under budget as well. We got Mike Bennett with the Woods class is going to build us like a 10 by 16, 12 by 16 outdoor screened in classroom next year. Pay for the material out of the maintenance budget, and they're going to make a class out of it through designing it, and then we'll put it up. We'll screen it in once and see what happens, and the kids and whoever will be able to use it. Another class has donated $5,000 as a class gift to put the stone walkway in from behind the graduation platform all the way out back to the track. This is going to be a great improvement to our schools and look really nice and easier access for people coming to athletic events or to access the backside of the building. They can walk along, and it's a huge safety upgrade for us where that was all trees and somebody could walk right up to the face of the classroom. Now you can clearly see all the way to the property line. So that's a big plus. Fall sports are winding down. Both of our teams, soccer teams, are going to be in the playoffs, cross country, as will be done tomorrow. Middle school sports finished today. The elevator project is underway. They're 3 weeks in. Everything's going extremely well with that. They are on budget. Some stainless wrap they measured wrong. Expected they'll come back around Christmas break. We're going to remeasure it, recut it. They'll come back at Christmas break and finish that wrap, but it will pass inspection at the end of the month, and all the new parts will be in the new cars here. That's going to be a huge plus for us. Save the worst for last, which is PCBs. This is the report for our source findings, and the short of it is that we have a lot of PCBs in our caulking. It sourced out in different places, ceiling tiles. One classroom had a divider in it. They found some PCBs there, but the main source was the caulking, and the numbers were extremely high. Our filters are still working. They're coming back November 4th and 5th, and do the next round of indoor air sampling to see how well our filters are working, because now we've closed the doors, we've closed the windows, we've shut the fans off, and we've turned the boilers on. When they do that and get those results back and they go to the DEC and the health department, they will report back to Harper and report back to us, and they will begin their process on which direction we move. I already know Harper wants to do another source sampling testing on the caulking on the outside of the windows because of the ledge in our unit ventilators draw air across that caulking from the outside. So they want to know if the unit ventilators have been compromised as well as the caulking around the windows. I have nothing to tell you about what the remediation is. We don't know what that is yet. I know the DEC and the health department has reviewed this. They got back to Harper with a few adjustments that they wanted them to make. There was nothing major, but nothing about remediation. They know the caulking has to go, but they're not sure how. If it's just the caulking that's going to disappear, or they just don't know. There's more testing that's got to be done. I know they're going to do core testing, which means they're going to drill into the concrete block next to the windows and find out if PCBs have seeped into those blocks. So I think that will be more of a determination about what the remediation is and which direction they go. I called the AOE and talked to them about where's the funding going to come from. And we get the pretty simple answer of nobody's really sure, because there's not that much money left. But we stayed in this process, and the state has told us that they were going to take care of it. We stayed in; it was 100% covered. So we're gonna stick with the state with that. Chester Andover's PCB testing is happening this weekend. It's their initial indoor air sampling, so I will keep you updated on that. Knock on wood, all of our elementary schools have been pretty good. It seems like they were built before, when the high school was in that time frame of the late 60s to mid 80s. So that's about it for what I have. If you have any questions, especially about PCBs, I will do my best to answer, but the question should be directed, send an email to Cassandra Kimney at the DEC or to the health department, because we only know very little. I know Sean looked through this report, and I was joking with him while you guys were in executive session. There's 497 pages. There's 2 pages that you really should look at. That they come to a conclusion, tell you what they think that it's going to happen, but again, it's what they think is going to happen. Until they do more testing, they're not really sure. So we are still ahead of the game. No disrespect to our neighbors down the road. BF is up against it. They got their students in tanks outside. We ordered another filter for the only classroom that we can't use, and they're gonna retest that, and if the numbers have come down enough, we may be able to use that classroom as well. But we're trying to stay on top of what we're doing here, and I'm bringing their phone off the hook every week to try to, if we can gain a couple days as we go, it just adds to the very end of it, where we wanna stay ahead of all this. So the next thing is, and I can tell you, just because when I talked to Joe Briggs Campbell with the AOE, is I'll be standing here asking you to reach out to our legislatures to find out where that funding is gonna come from. Because it won't be from the AOE, and it won't be from the Department of Health or the DEC. It's gonna come from the actual state of Vermont. And we're gonna have to push them to find out what they're gonna do about funding. All right, any questions? Steve?
Yeah. When we were talking about the bond.
Yeah.
You, the heat exchangers became a big focus of the expense. That was a huge amount of money at the time. And those clearly needed to be replaced years ago.
Yep.
Are they gonna hold up? I mean, they're falling.
We don't have heat exchangers.
Okay, so
all we have is air handlers, what they put on Chester Andover were heat recovery units.
Okay.
They're all brand new, so yeah, it's a big price, but I think that was incorporated into, a lot more things, ductwork.
Okay, all right.
And, it wasn't just the units. I mean, just those 4 units at Chester Andover, that project was $844,000. Yeah. So. Where we're at. Anybody got any questions?
Elevators, Todd?
Elevators in good shape. Yep,
Project's going along as it needs to.
Yep. Jeff?
Any of the lumber for the outdoor classroom come from the trees?
No.
Okay.
No, it wasn't, we looked at him, and I talked to Sean Pollard, he's like, there's really no, I asked him, I said, should we be talking about taking the logs up? He goes, it's chipboard at best. A lot of bullies behind. Yeah. That was easy.
Thanks very much.
And I think we're gonna talk a little bit later on another agenda.
Thanks, Todd.
So, I think in my zest to move along, I went out of order. So what should have happened right after our executive session was the update on the non-discriminatory mascot school branding policy and appeal, with the additions of retiring the chieftain's name with discussion and action, and handling funds to hire an attorney with discussion and action. That's what we're gonna do next.
So I just have a question, because I thought we made it where the executive session would happen whenever the lawyers cut in. So don't we go back to the other items like
We moved up item 14 and 15 to follow, so we moved the executive session to follow. And then the update followed that.
Okay.
So the first one being your addition is retiring the chieftain name with discussion and action.
So is there, so that was under the 15 update on non-discriminatory mascot and school branding policy appeal. So is that, so I'm asking if there's an update that is shared in the public portion of the meeting.
I can say that we, have now spoken with the lawyers. Yeah, we probably have a better understanding. Obviously, I cannot share what was discussed in the executive session. And I believe that we have at least a direction to move in. I really don't know how to form an update to the public because it was all in executive session. So, sorry.
So we are on retiring the chieftain name.
Discussion and action.
So
discussion?
I think the discussion was to put it off, if I'm not mistaken. And to add as an agenda item in the future.
Okay, I move to postpone action until a date certain.
I didn't hear that, Josh.
I move to postpone any action to a date certain. What's the date?
And so I think the date, we have to decide the date. When's the next meeting?
November 16th.
That's the one that Lois had an issue with, remember?
Whatever the next meeting is, I don't know that I will be able to be there. I will certainly attempt to be there by phone, but I just don't know. December is.
Can I suggest that we put it on for that meeting? And if Lois can't be there, it could be postponed till the following meeting?
That would work for me.
I don't know how you put that on an agenda. That's like how you put that in a.
Well, basically, you don't put it in the motion. You postpone the action to the November meeting. I will call if I can. If you don't hear from me, then I would appreciate somebody asking to postpone the action until the December meeting.
Correct.
I will do my very best to call in. It's just, I'm going to be at an airport at 5:30, so.
In December.
Why don't
This
we
is
make-
the
why
December
don't-
meeting.
This is November. We're talking about this would be able to do it, be able to do it in November. And if I can't call in, then we would postpone it to December.
I guess my preference would just be to put December.
Yeah,
That's
whatever,
just my
ever, look, I'm just being upfront and honest. I checked my flight plan and
Does anybody?
I land at 5:30.
I'm trying to figure out if the 21st is indeed happening or if it's going to be during any type of school vacation before we do that. And if it is, then the other option we could discuss is putting it in the motion that a full board has to be present for the vote.
That would be
The school vacation happens then. We have, and this would be the first time that the board has decided not to hold a meeting that was scheduled during a vacation, which.
So vacation is?
It starts on the 25th.
I think that having it say that the full board should be present kind of covers everybody's bases. And then.
So if I'm hearing this right, we're going to try to put the motion to address this on the November 16th meeting with the understanding there needs to be a full board. And if there's not, does the board want to meet on December 21st on a school vacation?
I would say that we stick with the motion and we put December's date, we not make mention of.
So are we agreeing to meet during the school vacation then?
Just say the December meeting. So whenever we change the December meeting to, if we change it from away from the school vacation, it would still be the December meeting.
All right.
Where we hold a special.
Okay. Somebody ever make that motion?
Sounds like we have to make it a date certain.
What's the date? Would be
I
November.
have December 21st.
Oh, I thought we were gonna.
Let's go with that.
Oh.
No, they want to go to December.
If that's okay. So this is the motion.
Okay, move to postpone action until the date certain. That date of certainty is December 21st, 6 p.m. on Zoom and here. Second.
Any further
Kids.
discussion?
Yes, I was going to say, do you not want to put in case we don't do it during vacation? Like Lauren's asked us for years to not have a board meeting during vacation. So could you just say the December meeting versus?
That's a different motion, right?
Josh can change his motion.
You could change your motion, make a motion, put that action on the agenda in the
December meeting, whenever that might happen to be, just so that if we do decide that we want to honor Lauren's request to not do a meeting during vacation for the first time ever, it would still stand.
It's allowed to be the case.
You have to change your motion. It's not a date certain anymore. It's now a new motion It says, I make a motion to put that agenda item.
Katie has a.
No, it's okay, the way she's rewording it changes.
Is he saying?
You have to say, I should strike that motion.
Right, whatever.
Date should be determined.
Okay.
A motion. Scott?
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, it allows for flexibility in December. It's your
Yes,
choice.
so
It's your choice.
I'm going to restate my motion for the third time, completely different, with a few of the similar words. We're gonna move to postpone action on whatever that is,
Yes.
until the December meeting, to be determined. Date to be determined. And time.
I second that.
Is that motion clear to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion that's been seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay.
The second part of that update was we wanted to discuss handling of funds to hire an attorney.
Yes, so I'm going back to the discussion, and I think this can just be a discussion. It has happened, but there were questions before about that historically, the entire board has been informed or has been involved in the process of hiring an attorney to do a specific thing. And my understanding is that that didn't happen this time. And so I'm just wondering if there can be some sort of statement of, in the future, the board will be informed of what a lawyer is being asked to do on behalf of the board.
And understand that all board members were asked to be in the executive session, so all board members understood that we were asking for administration guidance and legal counsel.
Guess I would just go on the record and say that is not my perception of that same meeting that you're speaking about. So I would not want it to say all members understood, because that is not.
Any more discussion?
I think, are you looking for like a
Policy?
a policy?
Yeah,
or-
I'm more looking for clarification, like what's going to happen next time.
This board doesn't determine policies, so that would have to be the policy committee. If you're looking to develop a commitment or a policy, you would just draft it, discuss it, and bring it to the policy committee.
Okay, so could the board, does the board agree that the way that the information about what the lawyers were being asked to do was not shared with the board was a problem, I guess?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so it might be worth,
It was very unclear.
it was unclear. Okay, so it might be worth thinking about. So, thank you. And then I was also just looking for clarification on what happened at the last meeting. And is it the case that everything was properly warned and that the statement that we couldn't have discussion and action was wrong? So the last meeting where we didn't approve the agenda, the reason we didn't approve the agenda is because the board was told that we could not take action on an item that had been warned as discussion and action. And so
You're talking about the previous, not
Yeah,
the previous
two
meeting. a couple
meetings
meetings
ago.
Okay.
2 meetings.
The, yeah.
Yeah.
So just clarification that we are warned properly and that that meeting was also warned properly.
It was not warned properly. I got information that it was not posted at a town hall, so it was not posted properly. And I know I spoke to the Telegraph the last time, but I would like to request that they put in a link in their article to the full agenda, like they put in a link to the Zoom link. And that way anybody can look at it and they can see the entire agenda with discussion actions in there. And then they're not relying just on that. That would lead total transparency for everybody. But no, it wasn't completely warned. That's how we found out that it wasn't being properly done at all the town halls.
Lauren, do you recall the warning for that meeting? And like, have none of our meetings been warned properly in a town hall or?
To the best of my knowledge, things have been put where they're supposed to be put. But I couldn't, if somebody has information that it wasn't in the right place, then that's the information.
I can speak with certainty that in Baltimore, 99% of these meetings are not warned.
We're addressing that.
Yeah, so I guess that's the only point. I was like, are we doing it right now?
We are now.
Okay. Excellent. There was also a statement, I'm not going to know exactly how many meetings ago, but it's in the minutes that there needed to be a 2/3 board vote in order to make a change to the agenda before it was approved. And I just want to clarify that that is only majority vote like we did it tonight.
It's a majority vote at the proper time, but if we change it after the additions and deletions, then it is a 2/3 vote.
That's right.
Yep. Okay. And then I also just wanted to note that over email, I had made a request for multiple agenda items that were supported, that had a majority support also over email. And that nothing was done with that. So I hear we're saying now that what we should do is have that discussion in a meeting. And so I guess I'm asking for clarification. Is that the only way that something goes on the agenda? And if that's the case, do we have to set an agenda tonight for the next meeting?
Go ahead.
What I would say is, in the past, when there wasn't this level of animosity in a split board, we were able to function more appropriately and more efficiently. At this point, there is zero trust between the members. So the emails back and forth probably are not the best until we are either off the board or this board comes back together. We're not, it has been put out in the public that our chair is a dictator. So at this point, she's not going to make decisions on the agenda without the board's approval. So yeah, it makes us inefficient, but it's probably the most transparent way to do that right now. Kate. Or Josh, whoever's first, I don't know.
Ladies first.
Do I have to raise my hand to make a motion, just as a point of order? Or did you just make the motion?
I think you have to be recognized to make the motion.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we add to the next meeting agenda and all future agendas an item called setting the agenda for the next meeting, so that we are able to set the agenda for the next meeting at every.
Not setting the whole agenda.
I think we have to. That's the only way we get agenda item. That's what.
I would actually agree until this board can behave.
I think it's great.
I think it's not a bad idea. However, it really does slow down everything. And so I do know that at the board retreat, we're allowed to email the chair, and there could be something that comes up after this meeting, and it could be very important. And so I don't want to just limit ourselves to just that, although I think we all can behave. I know I've raised my hand tonight. We've all behaved. I think that going forward, we should continue with the same process that the VSBA outlined, meaning we're allowed to request agenda items. I've done it with Deb and I've done it with Joe before. And
did it need a majority?
I don't think it should. Usually what it entails is a discussion with the chair and talk about why maybe it should be.
Would you like to make an addendum to my motion?
Well, but I think we're back to the same. But I think we're back to the same discussion. Is it revolves around a conversation with the chair, and if the conversation is, going to be acrimonious or accusatory, then you're right back to the same position where you're not going to get anywhere with that email discussion, and it's got to come to the board. So, obviously, make your motion. Whatever you want will pass. But I think until this board is acting more cohesively and, with less animosity, I don't see a better way forward until that happens. So I would agree with Kate.
And I would echo everything that you just said as the desired outcome. I think when a body, a group of people have this level of tension, over communication and transparent communication is the path forward. And so I agree. I would love for it to be that way, and I hope that it will be that way. And I don't think that this motion precludes that from happening. It's just making sure we have the ability to, at every meeting, set an agenda.
Okay.
But I don't think it limits us to.
Deb, how long does it take you to draft an agenda?
Sorry, she's really not able to speak. There you go.
I was muted. Lauren and I usually meet for 2 hours on a Friday afternoon. So good luck. I get the intent, and I think it's great, Kate, to add an item for future agenda items. I don't think the entire agenda needs to be set. I don't think we need to sit there and go, okay, so we're going to do roll call, and then we're going to do minutes, and then we're going to have the principal's report. I don't think that all of that is necessary, but I think having something there for requests for future agenda items is a different thing.
I think that's a great
That's
recommendation.
a great way to put it.
Exactly.
That's what we have on the TRSU and the Lebanon Valley agenda.
So should I pull my motion and somebody else makes a motion with that? Or do I just change my motion?
Change your motion.
All the words. I make a motion that on the next agenda and all future agenda items that we have an future agenda items line where anybody can request agenda items.
Suggest
and-
agenda.
I second.
So is it request or suggest?
Well,
I guess I was thinking we were gonna have to vote on it.
Okay.
So I think
Request
it's
is good.
list and vote on.
Second to that?
Yeah, I
Is there a
second it.
second? All right, is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. I think we are now at financial update.
So in the folder, you have July and August and September, beginning of the year, so everything is looking good. A couple items that are over have to do with the everyday math and the foundations, and that has to do with enrollment in schools. What we planned a year ago. It's not what happened when kids came to school, so we will make some adjustments for that. I'm going to work with Julie and Emma to get those numbers for this year. If you look, we're $448,000 in the negative. We have a $4 million check coming from Chester this week. So that will put us back into positive and work with us so we won't have to borrow any more money off the line of credit. So any questions on the financials? I'm happy to meet with anybody to go over it because it is cumbersome. To help break it down a little bit. So if someone would like to meet to go over it, I'd be happy to do that. In addition, summer food went really well this summer. They served 9,968 meals, and that's between summer camps and then doing the they call them non-congregate meals where they picked up a week's worth of groceries. So we ended up with a surplus of $13,678, and we're splitting that between the two districts. So the Green Mountain Unified District has $7,523 to put back into the kitchens and programs. And the state had notified me last week that the statewide error, they made an error in the calculation of the block grant for special ed. And we will be not getting $53,462 that they had told us a year ago that we would get. It has to do with it. Yeah, and it has to do with the new funding formula and interpretation and using, because they were using time periods of like 18, 19, and 20, and then they went to 21, 22, and something got mixed up in the calculations. And so now they've corrected it. And so there's a lot of discussion going on that the state should make this up someplace else. Because that's what we all planned on, $1.9 million across the state of Vermont that these are And also along that line, currently our FY '24, this new funding formula for special ed, we get a base rate for each student. And so it's not even special ed, because that's the way that they're trying to change the funding for it. And it's based on our special ed budgets by our long-term weighted membership. So currently we're at 2,737 students. By FY '27, we have to be at $2,350. So over the next 4 years, that rate's going to drop by $111 every year. So our block grant is going down, which is the intention of the state. Everybody statewide will be getting $2,350 per long-term weighted membership in their districts. Winners and losers, of where people were when we started this. Part of our problem is that we also have the declining enrollment. So we have both the numbers that are going down, which is going to decrease a lot of money. So that's where some of the, the MTSS and the work that everybody's doing to change some of the way that we deliver services. And I don't have all the educational words because that's not my jam, but so it's a work in progress to get it so that we're not carrying the bulk of that load. So, and the last thing I have for you, well, I'm actually next again, but we need to set a budget meeting because we are knee deep in it. So generally we start the first one sometime in November and then we meet every couple of weeks after that. So this board does not do it with a regular meeting, so we set a separate budget committee meeting, which is the full board. So I don't know how you want to go about setting that.
So we Cheryl was saying, we do the first budget proposal meeting, which is the administrative proposed budget that then you're going to look at and make adjustments to so that it becomes the board budget. We do that in November. And with this board doing that generally hour to an hour and a half long meeting does not work well in a regular meeting. So we've had the committee as a whole, the finance committee, which is the board as a whole, meets to do that. So we would be looking for a finance committee meeting to happen in November so that you are able to have meetings in November and December, because by roughly the second week of January, you have to have finalized your budget. So I can send out a doodle poll with possible dates in November, or you can all look at your calendars right now and pick something, or however you would like me to proceed with that. Yes.
Okay. Questions? So next on the agenda is ClearGov. This is a company that reached out to me. They help with budgeting processes for municipalities and school districts. They have a whole slew of things that they offer, all the budgeting. I think our software, others may not agree, does a fairly good job of budgeting. Our problem comes in about presenting it to the board and being able to have everybody understand it. So the two pieces that I asked for them to present to me was transparency and reporting. And I actually spoke at the TRSU meeting, and you guys all should have gotten an email from me that had some samples with that, and hopefully everybody's had an opportunity to review it. It gives you an opportunity to break the budget down further than I can with less work. So what I would do is export our software by accounting number out, and then this software would set it up how we structure it to be set up. So you can see a little bit more by departments. So right now we just do it by school and then we do it by section, but you could do one of these Warren's always wanted to do is like English or math across all of them. So filters. So I think we would have to set those filters up. A lot of graphs and charts, and you can make it a pie chart or a bar chart or I don't know if you want a map chart, whatever they call it. But you can also compare years and take years away. And then the reporting could almost be a whole supervisory union wide, but you could go in and you could pick what you wanted to see from that and create your own little scenario from that. The TRSU, we spoke about it. They decided to move forward with it based on the approval of the districts. Ludlow and Holly did the same. So the cost of implementation is $2,880, and the annual cost of it is $7,760. I've asked some questions about can we find out who's using this, because it's a lot of money. I think there's a lot of benefit to it, because people can go in there and kind of create what they want to see. But if people aren't going to use it, that's a lot of money to spend. So they do have a way to be able to track that a little bit. The other thing I mentioned at TRSU that potentially can happen is that we could use it on a monthly basis for our monthly report that I present. The guy said to me, well, we can do it, but that's not really what we do. And my experience is if that's not our main product, it's probably not going to work the way that we need it to work. So I hesitate on that. We are going to the 31st and the senior management team was with the accountability, Gordon Baker and George Bierman are going to sit down and look at it in a deeper dive and ask them questions, because it has a lot of different data. Hopefully everybody has looked at it and you can see it's like teacher, how many teachers we have, how many students we have, a lot of different things that we can add to this to make it transparent. Not that we're not transparent, but it just gives it another simplifies it.
I did have a question about it. Would it be 2,000 setup, 7,000 the first year, or 2,000 setup covers the first year?
No.
So it would be 2,000 and 7,000.
First year will be close to
And
10,000, and then 7,600.
7,760.
Yeah.
And then would there be a contract? Like, would we be locked in for any particular time? Or
So I
could we
don't know the
cancel?
answer to that, so that's a question. So I guess we're looking for interest, and if we have the interest, I mean, or we're looking for approval.
Well, the TRSU board, you were there, approved it subject to the support approval of the two districts. Ludlow and Holly has approved it. The question now is whether Greenfield does.
And I do want the senior management to look at it. I'm not really the only one that's done the demonstration. I've seen the demonstrations on this gentleman, and he asked questions, and I want the senior management to have the opportunity to make sure that I see things different than everybody else does because of my background and working with this all the time, that it may not be for someone else to look at it, may not be
Can you have an opportunity to talk to some of the people who are using it?
Right.
So that you'll get a sense of how effective they found it?
Yeah, I can find some people.
I think that would be, kind of an important way to kind of judge whether it's working for other people.
And I was going to ask the same thing, is just to get the information and give the senior management team, and what are you trying to get out of it? What would you be getting from it to help you do your jobs better?
So for me, it's not helping me do my job, it's helping the public and the board
Public
to
to see.
understand and see.
Okay, got it.
It's a much more user-friendly for how to get all of this information than what we have at the moment are giant Excel spreadsheets.
Yep.
And then Cheryl and I spend a fair amount of time trying to turn that into some reasonably user-friendly documents, which I think people can get an understanding from. But it's quite limited because we don't have the wherewithal to create all of those accessible charts and the individual description of exactly what you're looking for, and then have those magic multiple color things appear. It's to make it easier for people who don't have a background to be able to see what we're doing. So our real question is, I think if people will use it, then it's well worth the money. But if the people who are going to use it are two board members and the Chester Telegraph, then I'm not sure, who I know will use it, then I'm not sure that it's worth that expense. And unfortunately, the only way to really know that is to try it and keep track of it. So,
Track record from other businesses.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
we could
having a
ask.
conversation with people who used it might be helpful, I think.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I would just say that financial transparency is a huge win in the equity category. And so when you think about people being able to access this information, myself included, because I was going to go meet with you to say, tell me how to use these spreadsheets. I don't know. But I agree with the let's do it for only 1 year and see how it's being used. If it's not actually being used in the first year.
the TRSU board said yes, as long as the board's approved.
Pretty certain we would not be locked into like a multi-year contract. I have to ask that.
Well, if it turns out that we were, we'd have to come back to everybody, because that was the understanding when we talked at the TRSU, was that we could do 1 year and then run away if we didn't like it.
Okay, so you're looking for a motion to approve using this for a year? Okay. Make a motion?
Motion to give Cheryl tools that she's asked for to bring in this clear. I'm sorry, I lost it.
Clear go.
Clear digital budget.
Yes, thank you.
For 1 year?
Yes, 1 year.
Seconded. All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, now our committee reports.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So, BTVLC is projecting a healthy surplus. All their numbers for full-time students are up. They've now started esports teams, real online time, and they're back to planning the marine biology trip, which usually sends 10 to 12 students to dive in the summer. The number of students at RVTC is up 13 from this time last year, which is good. And they're waiting to find out about state funds for some building rehabilitation. And there's still talk about how the state might change the funding, which would be very good for us for tech schools, because that would take some of the burden off us, because they would get more state money. We had a chef presentation from the new culinary teacher, and they're starting to do their weekly, I think it's Thursdays, I'm not sure, lunches for people who might want to attend. And I was told that if you can, you should go to the December lunch, because it's fabulous. Okay, that's it.
Will you send us the date?
I will. Absolutely.
All right, the next, I'm sorry, you don't?
Yeah, no, I thought I said.
Sorry. The next board is TRSU. Much of what was discussed at the TRSU board was what Lawrence presented in her report. We did, as a board, decide that we are going to have NASDAQ, who is the company that's searching for the helping with the superintendent search, is going to come on October 26th to the CTES gymnasium to have a public meeting where much of the process will be described, and there'll be an opportunity for public input. Pretty much was the majority of it. Transportation.
We tried to set a meeting. Scott went to talk to the way leader from
Steve, I can't hear you back here. I'm sorry. I apologize, but could you please speak up?
We tried to set a meeting. Scott and I have talked a little bit. It's not a convenient meeting for Jeff. Apparently, we have some numbers that are coming in at some point. I'm sure we. That's the.
Are you saying you requested numbers?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Just want to make sure of that.
Right, hold on.
Yes.
The next committee is the restructuring committee. Due to the superintendent meeting, we will be having it November 9th, 6 p.m. here instead of the 26th. Obviously, there is no committee update as we have not met. And then for see, wanted to add the point description of what the restructuring committee is being asked to do and on what timeline, including date and time of next meeting with discussion and action.
Yeah, so you were just asking, is there a restructuring committee? Am I correct that it's the entire board?
It is, the only person that actually has not responded is Rick, whether he wants to be part of it, if you want to be part of the restructuring committee, and he did not yet. No, I take that back. I think you did respond, so I correct myself. So yeah, so everybody has responded that they want to be on the committee.
Okay. And then you have the printouts of what it is that committee is supposed to do?
I have the charge that was shared with the committee initially. Yeah. So the school restructuring committee will conceptualize all plausible scenarios to best utilize all the buildings in the GMUSD. We'll research and develop pros and cons lists for each scenario. We'll make a presentation to the board and the community on all scenarios. Once the committee has identified all possible scenarios, develop the list of pros and cons, presented their information to the board and community. The entire board will, with the input of communities, narrow down the options and look deeper into which will make the most sense for the district as a whole. Ultimately, the GMUSD board will vote on the best options and put in action.
Great. And so can that be sent out to the committee, to the restructuring committee? Thank you. And like, maybe it is just completely a guess, but timeline, are we talking about trying to give a presentation to the public about options and pros and cons in a year, in 6 months, in 6 years? Like, does anybody know?
No.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything.
If you discuss it first.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I don't have any action items for that, so no action unless somebody else does.
Any further discussion?
We have the other piece to talk about.
Oh, yeah, sorry, it's on the second page. And then you.
This is my request. So 3 weeks ago, I requested some information. And the information that I was requesting was for what the cost would be if Cavendish redistrict to Ludlow. Would it benefit or hurt Chester, Andover, Baltimore? And then also, would it benefit or hurt Ludlow, Mount Hollow? I asked this request at that meeting. In that meeting, I was told that it was going to come at some point. And then a week later, I got an email stating they didn't understand the question. And then the next day, I got an email stating that because it's just one town asking for the information, that I needed to bring it to the whole board to get a vote, which I don't think is correct. If a director asks for financial stuff for a town, it should be brought to them. Am I wrong?
Yes.
Oh.
No, you are not. And I will say that when the way the decisions and the direction to the administration works is that this board can direct us what to do. But an individual cannot come and say, we want you to not just provide information, but engage in an analysis of that information particularly about a subject that is politically fraught and it is where we run the risk of having people think that the administration has decided to gather information about whether it would be good or bad for people to have Cavendish be in or out of the SU or in or out of Green Mountain. That is something that the direction to do that, we're glad to do it when the board says this is information that the board wants. The town of Andover could come to us, and by us I mean you, and ask you for that information. You would then say, of course we want to provide that. And you would tell us, and by us I mean, tell my business manager to engage in several hours of work to both gather the information and the analysis. Anyone comes to us and says we want public record information, you can have that. But the request for, will it be a benefit or will it be a detriment, is not just public information, it is analysis. And you as board members only have the power of being a board director when you are acting as part of the board. You as an individual do not contain that.
Baltimore's sitting right next to me.
But the two of you, again, are individuals. You are not the board. The board is 6 members of the board saying, this is what we want you to do. And as I said to you, I am quite certain that the board would like to do that, but I'm not going to take action and wind up with somebody saying, why did the TRSU decide that it was going to engage in this kind of an analysis without direction from the board? So here we are.
I'd like to make a motion that we get that information because we're going to need it for the reconstruction.
Absolutely. Second that motion.
Can we just clarify what the information is?
Okay.
Like I said, we're glad to provide it.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we get the information of if Cavendish redistricts into Ludlow, Mount Holly, is it going to affect, or how is it going to affect, good or bad, for Chester, Andover, Baltimore? And also, is it going to affect, or how is it going to affect Ludlow, Mount Holly, good or bad?
Any further discussion?
I feel woefully unprepared to make any decision on this. I have no idea.
Just numbers, that's all it is. Yes,
Can you-
it's just numbers.
Can you explain what you're, I don't even understand what you're really asking for.
So if Cavendish redistricts, okay, is losing that tax revenue to the school gonna hurt the 3 towns that stay in it? And is it gonna benefit Ludlow or hurt them, or us to benefit or hurt us, is what I'm asking.
But the restructuring committee doesn't decide if Cavendish redistricts.
No, it's just numbers to figure everything out. That's all it is. It's just
Cavendish
numbers.
Water District.
I think the
That's another
purpose is to get the information for the restructuring committee meeting so that it's another tool to determine what the pros and cons are to every option that we have.
Yes.
I think it's just information.
Well, that was one of
That's
the
what I'm
options that
understanding.
got brought up meetings before, way before, when Lauren, but she said it was just ideas. That was one of the ideas, and then we district. So I'm just trying to get the information so that when we decide to sit down and have this conversation, we have all numbers on the plate and we can figure it out.
Completely appropriate thing for the restructuring committee task.
Yeah.
I just thought that there was also another scenario, and I'm not remembering exactly what it was, of somebody else leaving or joining someone else. Was that completely mistaken?
It was the risk to, the specific request is the financial information and the analysis about if Cavendish left,
Cavendish left the district and went to Ludlow, Mount Holly,
would it have a negative impact on Ludlow Mount Holly, and would it have a negative impact on?
or positive. Yes, either way.
Very vulnerable in this conversation.
Can we table that for the first restructuring committee and just talk about all those options? Because it sounds to me like there's other ideas.
Committee can, If
This
the
is a
committee,
time
which is
process
this
to get
board,
it.
is
That's
also.
what I'm saying. It's good to move, get the information together to be ready for the meeting. Helps.
Well, you won't have it for
I was
the
gonna
meeting.
say,
anyway.
Yeah.
But it's got.
And again, we don't object to providing you with this information. I just want the board to ask for it, not one or two people. We're glad to do that.
May I ask Cheryl?
Well, I'm glad. Cheryl will be really glad.
What is a doable timeframe? Because I asked you about the meeting in the budget. What is a doable timeframe to be able to provide that information?
At this moment, I don't have an answer for you. I need to get the base budget built, and I have to do that clearly before your meeting in
November 2nd.
The other question that I have is what assumptions that you want to make. And whatever assumptions that you want to do, I think that should carry to everything that you look at.
For example, are we assuming that we are continuing to provide bus transportation if one for a town that is going to then be in a place where the school has one small bus? Are we going to make sure that we are providing that? That's a fine thing to say yes to, but it changes the financial decision about whether it's a benefit or not a benefit.
Right, so, but all the scenarios you come up with, like, if you're gonna have a baseline of students, what's your population? Okay, we're gonna go with this, we're not gonna change it as the months go on. We do that with negotiations. This is our starting point. We're gonna always use that data as we go. So I can start pulling information together, but some of those things will be good for me to know as we go forward.
So could you help? It's clearly not financial minds.
So as I pull information together, I'll think of
those assumptions, and then that can be brought forward to the committee. Does that sound reasonable? Okay. All right. So we are just going to table that for the restructuring committee, or are we going to table that for another meeting, that request? Or is it just fair to say that you're going to start pulling information, and as those assumptions come up, you'll keep a list and we'll address them at the restructuring committee?
If that's what the board asks for, I think that would make a lot of sense. We'll give you as much as we can give you without going too far out on a limb, without having the other specific information that we just want. The board asks for. Does that work for you?
That works. That works.
So then the motion would be something like we're requesting information about what the assumptions need to be in order to calculate these models.
You're
We're just gonna
requesting
direct-
as
we're just
much
gonna direct.
financial information as reasonable for us to provide, subject to additional requests.
Are you clear on what's going to be asked, just so? Okay, all right.
We're gonna make the motion again. Okay.
All right. Any further discussion?
I'm going to formally abstain just because I don't feel comfortable voting on something that I don't understand and I don't want to pull up the process.
Okay. Any further discussion?
It's just a quick question for Cheryl. ClearGov, does this have any impact on providing this kind of information in detail? Since it might be
No. Because a lot of the things that we have to break down is when they give me, the state gives me information on Green Mountain Unified, it's combined. Right? So I have to go back and I have to ask the state or ask Lauren Baker, probably she's gonna have to help me. We have to pull it all apart. I have to know how many kids are in each grade, make assumptions on whether or not Holly is a tuition town. Where might those kids go? That's gonna have a huge impact on whether or not Holly. It's also going to change your equalized pupil or your long-term weighted membership. So it's not just taking the numbers and putting them in the pile. There's a lot of other data that has to be pulled together.
It's a public records request. We just give you all the numbers and
So
then you try to sort them out.
Okay, all right. So we've got a direction. Okay, all right. Is everybody satisfied?
Why are we doing this just for candidates? That's what feels confusing to me and feels.
Because you're the closest.
It's just the start. It's just the start of the restructuring.
Seems like if she's gonna do the process, she might as well do it for all towns.
That was part of my concern about not
I
deciding.
feel
to
like
get
they're trying to
this.
kick us out.
Because that statement there is exactly why we're not gonna do it until the board says.
Do it for all the town.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it seems like an awful lot of work, but I don't really understand. So
This is a surprise.
I'm happy to just, but it just seems like the topic of conversation in the town will be, why is this only about Cavendish? And if we're gonna do this process to be able to make a thoughtful decision about all, buildings.
I'll work towards that.
Yeah, I guess I thought what the request was to work out what the assumptions need to be for any sort of restructuring. Like, what are all of the
This was about
issues?
Cavendish. If you want to make the request about what would be the effect on any of our towns leaving, then that's a different request.
We do it that way.
Yeah.
It's numbers that we all.
And you also get into, there's a union between Andover and Chester for the elementary. So that would have to like be solved. That's another little step. But not.
It's all useful information. It'll
It's
take a
useful
while.
information for restructuring.
We gotta have it.
I would have
So you
expected
want me to
that the
amend it?
restructuring committee
I'll
would.
amend
have-
my motion if you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So
I amend my motion and make it on all towns that we get the information on, not just Cavendish.
And we can do that, but you're not getting that by November 9th.
That's fine.
You think it could come town by town? You've had Cavendish done, and then you, if it doesn't work that way, I don't know.
Yeah, I think once we start pulling numbers apart.
It'll be
Grab
easier.
all, yeah. Yeah, but it's those assumptions of what are we doing with transportation, tracking, nurses, you know. Other things, technology, right? Here's the way we work out that, yeah, how's that? Those can come later. Well, it makes a difference.
Motion on the table.
I mean,
when we talk about it on the night.
Yeah.
Super deep in.
I feel more comfortable voting it.
What is the motion on the table right now?
Motion on the table is to get all the financial information from all the towns on if it's gonna benefit or not benefit any town meeting. Right? Am I right? Yeah.
That sounds right.
So we have a second on that motion?
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Still abstaining?
No, I did not.
Right, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is public comments. I would like to remind the public and the board, this is not a time for discussion. This is a time for the public to address the board. Each member of the public will have 2 minutes. Please state your name and town. Yeah, yeah.
It's time clock. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You guys ready? Timer?
You see the amount of documents.
Okay, now we've got names. We're gonna go through the names on the list and then we'll start going through. Those are ordered, right?
They are.
Okay. It is pulled up.
Stopwatch. Okay.
Got it?
I got
All right. So,
it. When you
Randy?
start talking, I'll start.
First off, I'd like to wish Deb a speedy recovery, and I'd like to welcome the vice principal and principals. I'm very happy to see it. Now, getting to business. This chieftain name has been going on and on and on. I don't know why. We got rid of the Indian image. That was back in 21. The E5 policy did not come out until 23. How did chieftain get pulled in? A lot of you agreed that chieftain is not a bad name. It doesn't mean anything bad. But yet it got sucked in, and now we're bringing it to this? I am embarrassed to be here after what just happened tonight or what you're trying to do. You, as a board, should step away from this and leave it to the state or send it to the voters. You're supposed to be representing the people. Not the small amounts, not the big amounts, everybody evenly. And I feel this board has been biased all the way. I'm extremely upset about this, how this whole thing is handled. It's appalling. You need to do better than this, or you need to leave. I don't know what else to say about this. Chieftain is not a bad name. It's a good meaning name, and I'm here to defend that name. That's my only purpose. Is it right or is it wrong? I happen to feel it's exactly right. Those kids of 71 chose that for the exact meaning. They looked it up in a dictionary and that's what it meant. Leaders. Didn't mean Native Americans. It didn't mean anything else. It was a neutral name and you're crucifying it. I don't know what else to say to this board. Is this the way you're going to handle every situation down the line? I'm fearful of that. You represent the people. You're not even representing the majority of the people. You won't even let them vote. We're going to have this decided by 6 people. 6 votes. When there's hundreds of people that believe the same way I do. I'm embarrassed. Thank you.
Randy, you forgot your papers.
Thank you.
Otis? No.
First of all, I want to thank, I went to middle school soccer game last week. Got some bright kids coming forward, the program. I also had the pleasure of going to the both senior girls and senior boys game this week. Awesome to see them move on, and then grow during the senior year. I guess the reason why I'm up here is there's some public emails that are out there, and they're very troubling. And I don't know how many of you have seen them, but this is one. It says, "Let's go, Chieftain." It's a swastika with an Indian on the front. Acceptable? To anybody? No, I don't think so. It's from Steve Pirani to Josh Oder. Dated April 10th, 2023. I don't believe that we can move forward with somebody that would make something like this on our board representing the kids in our district. I don't think it's right. And I don't think we should be accepting of it. And I am very disappointed with the board not wanting to have the discussion of the emails earlier in this meeting. It's very despicable, because you guys all know what they were, and you don't want to talk about it. Sad. That's all I have to say.
Chris Spalding?
I will just go further from where he just did. The 6 of you that voted against Jeff to not be transparent, you're going to have to answer to your voters why you would not want any of this stuff. I mean, there is a pile of paperwork here that was all done and a lot of conversation that was totally unbecoming of anybody on this board. And none of it you would not want to show your kids. I mean, it is amazing that you would cover this up. There's no reason that it shouldn't have been transparent, shouldn't have been brought out. And there's only one reason why it wasn't brought out, is because you have just such a target to get rid of the chieftain name. And that's the only reason. Because I know all you guys have a conscience, and you're going to have to live with it from what you did tonight. And you're going to have to explain it to everybody that I didn't want this stuff to come out. But I would encourage anybody who wants to read or see any of this, you call the superintendent's office, you will be welcome to get all of this, and you will be equally disgusted at how this went. And then, just to totally try to shove it under the carpet in the name of getting your own way, and it doesn't do the kids any good to do it. You're not showing them anything. You're not doing open discussion. Open discussion is the way this thing should have run, and now it's in the hands of the state, and that's where it should stay. But by not being transparent, you know, only a few of you are gonna see this and you're gonna realize how underhanded this whole thing is. And it's just absolutely wrong. You should all think long and hard before running for office again. And I would urge the board to ask Steve to step down. This is totally wrong of a public school email. These
John Clark?
Yeah. Can I please stand up? John Clark, Chester Alumni Association president, and also president of Chester Historical Society. I've spoke here several times. As far as the Historical Society, I was around when the school was voted in, the chieftains, I knew the context that they had, where the chieftain name came from is from Route 103 North, our earliest settlers, are Native Americans. And when Randy Vincent wrote that essay, it was all in there. It was all to do with pride and leadership of this community. It's been that way for 52 years. Also, hundreds and hundreds of Chester Sentinels, Green Mountain Chieftains, calls all the time, and all of them in the positive, wanting to keep the chieftain name. I've been here to say this several times, and so I'm a strong chieftain supporter and will continue that. I hope we keep our name. Thank you.
Ellie Spalding?
Hello. Past my bedtime, so try to be coherent. I was kind of upset with this motion that we entertained earlier on the motion to vote on the chieftain again, another unwarranted illegal vote. Okay. And more about it was it's the will of the community, it's the will of the students. I think that's what the Norman chieftain side wants you to think. All right. In January, there was an illegal meeting, unwarranted again, vote because of feelings. All right. You had student representatives, which I think is a great idea. I think it's great to have students, but I think those students all need to represent every kid in the school. All right. Not just come to you guys with some feelings that may be justified on what they feel, but some data. There was no data in that meeting. There's no data. There was no polls. There was no nothing. And again, but I think that's a great thing to have student representatives, just to represent all the kids. We had data when we can. We had two petitions. The other side had one. We came with, April, May, I don't know what it was. We did hand it into the petitions. We had 3 times as many people as they had. We had 40 plus kids' signatures that were signed, all right, at least. And we had kids that when they went in school and were asked to sign, were actually sending out to sign the petition, they got called racist. So I'm sure there were a lot more kids that would stand up and do that, but they don't want to be involved in that reverse racism. And they're not going to speak out. All right. This should be a conversation where both sides defend their beliefs and a compromise on each side. We have been called, maybe it's time already.
Sarah Stoll, Proctorsville.
There's a name we don't hear in this conversation. Long live Proctorsville. So I just want to say, I did a little bit of outreach to the town moderators in a few towns to try and get a handle on the Robert's Rules of Order. And so I would be very interested in you guys getting some clarification, because it sounds like you're all on the same page now that at the beginning of a meeting, you only need a majority to add something to the agenda. And it sounds like you're all on the same page that if the agenda has already started running and you want to add or change something, you need a 2/3 majority. But I keep hearing about warnings and these are illegal meetings and illegal votes. And my understanding of Robert's rules from the town moderators in Chester and the former moderator in Cavendish, I didn't ask Mike because I didn't want to involve him in the conflict since he works here, is that you can put out the agenda and then you can come here and change it. So I think it would be really important for you to seek legal counsel and get the final word on that, because it's definitely she said, he said, they said, and it seems to me that Robert's Rules supports changing the agenda in two different moments with two different quantities of votes. And I just want to say that I appreciate that you changed your numbers game. And Scott, I'm sure you don't mean it to sound like Cavendish is the, ugly stepchild. But there's a lot of solutions here. Baltimore could come to Cavendish, Andover could go the other way on Terrible Mountain. So if you're going to look at solutions for our issue in the district, let's consider us all to be, we're in this together. If it works out best, we talked about going to Ludlow back in the Act 46. Like, we've already had lots of conversations. It might be awesome, but let's not make it about one town. Geographically, people could go anywhere. And as I like to remind my Chester friends, when you complain about having to play on Brevin, same mileage north as it is south on Route 103.
Here. All right, let's see. Beverly?
Hi, I'm not sure. I can't work my camera. I'm sorry. But I just wanted to, I've been wanting to let the board know. Most of you know that I was there back at the end of last year with Honore, my granddaughter, who was having problems. She ended the year not very good. So we had made a decision this summer to look at a few other schools. We did that. We also had a very nice meeting with Mr. Broadley and Kate Lath. And I want you all to know that they are the reason that Honore is at Green Mountain this year. They were very kind to her. Honore right now, 4 or 5 weeks into school, has not had problems. She is involved in a lot of things, and she feels like Mr. Broadley has her back. And I just want you all to know how lucky we are, because she's only one kid, but let me tell you, they are the reason she is at Green Mountain. Thank you very much.
See you on.
Job, Broadly. And
Nice work.
Let's see. Amanda?
Actually, it's Mr. Amanda Gross. I want to piggyback on Sarah Stoll's comment. It's actually 1 VSA subsection 312 subsection D that talks about the agenda, and that is statute, not Robert's rules. You are good Vermont citizens, well steeped in town meetings and germane warnings and proper, sensitive to posting it in places. But this is a regular meeting of a board, and so it's a different animal than what you're thinking of. So I am willing to bet that it was properly warned every time, even though it wouldn't have been properly warned if this were a town meeting. This isn't a town meeting. Again, that reference is 1 VSA section 312 subsection D. It's section 3A and B. The A says that the first act of any business meeting, first act of business at any regular meeting is to set the agenda. And then section B says that agenda can be changed at any time. And because it specifies it in the same way, and it doesn't say there's a distinction between those two, I would seek legal opinion, but I would think that the answer is that it's a majority at any time can change the agenda, a simple majority. It's not a Robert's Rules issue, it's a statute issue. And when you have Robert's Rules and statute in two different places saying two different things, statute wins.
All
Are you okay?
Yeah. And Deb Felton.
Hold on. Oh, I can't get my camera to turn on either. Hold on.
You're not going to get.
Hold on.
Not going to be able to, Deb. You can just speak. You
You can hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm sorry about my camera. I just wanted to say again that I'm a part of this community. I'm a parent of a high school age son. I'm most importantly a teacher for over 30 years. I'm in this mascot and going back to the mascot issue, the reason I've been involved in it is because it's a mental health issue affecting students, and it's very well documented. The evidence has been presented to you. You're the people in the room that are educators, Mr. Broadley. I implore you to take a look at that evidence. That is the reason I'm involved in this, and that I've helped students at Green Mountain and other places in Vermont with this issue. They've tried to do their civic duty, and I've watched a lot of students get bullied out of this and slink away because of the way that this has happened. And they are trying to make their school more inclusive and safe for all students, and that's why they're involved. And today I was cyberbullied over this issue, and my name was outed, and some of the project mascot accounts were hacked. And so this all just contributes to this climate. And the reason I'm in this is to help protect the mental health of students who are harmed by these stereotypes. And that is not a question, that is well documented. And
Got her down.
Okay, next.
That's it.
For public comments, we're done. Can you set this up for the second round of public comments, please? Okay. New business. We need a break. Wait.
Continue, go ahead.
New business, we have policies, first reads. The first one is F1, student conduct and discipline. Everybody read that? Yeah. Questions, concerns, discussion? Back for a second read. So,
You can do them all together.
okay, this is not here. F2, search and seizure of students by school personnel. Did you read it?
Yes.
Questions, concerns?
Good one. Do we know when and how parents or caregivers are informed that there will be a search, or even if there already has been a search?
So our procedures are that parents are notified if a search is conducted. And certainly the principals have our preferences of parents are notified before. But there are instances in which it is not appropriate to do that because of what the concern is. So our administration has discretion.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it was in there somewhere.
Yep.
But yeah, I can see that sometimes it would need to be after.
Next one is F9, transportation. Read that. Any concerns? G10, cybersecurity. Read it? Yes. Concerns? Have a motion to bring F1, F2, F9, and G10 back to second read.
Yeah.
All in favor? Approved. Next on new business is possible land purchase of property adjoining CAES.
Okay, so this was a piece of property was made available that adjoins our property at Chester Andover Elementary School. Everybody here knows the complications of traffic at Chester Andover. It's been doing nothing but getting worse, and it's not getting better. It will probably get worse. The parking lot is overflowed to the point where we've added on to the parking lot, probably not the way it should have been. But it's just the way it is, we had no choice. Cheryl brought to my attention that with the bond, if we're gonna redo the parking lot, it was 530,000, somewhere around there. This piece of property has been made available. It was offered to us exclusively, but it is on the market now. Yep. So I guess my suggestion to the board is that we make this an option for us to think about or talk about purchasing this to alleviate the traffic problems at Chester Andover. If we could purchase this, we could extend the parking lot and form a giant yield right around, one way in, one way out, and it would alleviate the traffic in town. I think what I'm looking for is the okay to move forward with this, to start talking price with somebody, or I've talked to an engineer about some pricing for what engineer blueprints would look like, and how that works with the state and permitting processes. So it's a long process. It wouldn't be something that can be done overnight, but I think we've let some property go. Green Mountain Unified has it, we all know we should have bought this property up in front of the school. That got let go. We probably should have bought where the dentist office is from Chester, we let that go. I just don't want to be in a position where we're standing here 5 years from now, maybe some of you are here, or you're not, or I'm gone, and we're talking about this again, saying, yeah, we talked about it and we didn't do it. So I guess we had this put on the agenda to have you guys talk about it and tell me to move forward with gathering some more information, or you decide, nope, no, this is not a good time and we should not move forward. Sorry, well, you raised your hand.
Deb had wanted to make sure that the other option she discussed with you was brought up by using the existing property.
Yep, I thought that's what I was covering when I said that, with the bond, with the property that we have available, it would be somewhere in the vicinity at the time of the bond of about 530,000. That's what they had budgeted to redo the parking lot at that point. But that would still be in and out the same direction. That wouldn't.
I know, is Deb still on? I think it would probably be better for her.
Sure.
I know I wasn't privy to the conversation, but I know she had talked about utilizing the property, shifting, that entire side that's lawn, moving it over the parking lot. And there was like angles of coming in and out, and I just,
Deb, did you want to talk?
Yeah, there were other options that could be discussed before buying the land, that being using the property that's already there, that's basically behind that piece of land for parking, or rerouting the traffic around the building. There's just a lot of other options that money could be spent to use to fix the parking rather than just buy a piece of property. So I'm not saying that that's the way to go. I just think that we should talk about all the options and not just jump at buying property for the sake of having property. Are there any questions or?
Yeah. So ultimately with that property, we're using the roost. Is there an ability to purchase that property to bring your administration down closer? Is it big enough? Meaning, is that big enough? Is that funeral home big enough to house 16, 18, 20, whatever administrators?
So I think the answer is yes. The short answer is yes, because when we first looked at it, some board members had looked at it with myself and the town manager just to get some rough ideas if it was feasible. And it could be. I mean, I think we could put a drive in and there would still be room for a building lot next to it. Because we talked about moving the property lines and purchasing maybe a portion of the parcel, and then there was some conversation about the whole parcel. So
You have to get TRSU in on that discussion then, because that's not a decision that this board could make.
This is actually a question for the board. The town manager of Chester has her hand up, which probably has some pertinent information to this. So if you're okay with letting her speak, it is not public comment, so unless you agree.
Can I ask a question first before we do that? Are you asking us to make a decision about buying the property tonight?
I was hoping I was making that clear. I am not, I'm asking if you want to continue a conversation about how much it would cost, which direction we should go, or you can tell me, we're not interested in doing this at all, we're looking to go in a different direction.
Then my preference would be to not get any more information and to just say, yes, go forth, and then bring it back to us when you have the information, including talking to Mrs. Sands.
Because this isn't a small little bit of work. I mean, if we decide to move forward with this, we should be more than serious about, this is something we're seriously gonna consider doing, and not just, well, we're gonna talk about it, we're gonna think about it, and, you know, I mean, there'll be a lot to it.
I just wouldn't be able to do that without a lot more information, and I don't feel comfortable having a conversation.
No, a discussion about a decision for a school district to purchase property is one of the exceptions to the open meeting law, because you're talking about pricing and all of those things. You talk about that in executive.
It seems like.
Would there be cost to you obtaining this information?
I don't know, and I think the board knows how I feel about saying I don't know, but I don't know. Well, because here's the thing, which direction do we go? So I talked to an engineer, and, you know, depends on wastewater permits, and we end up having to do wastewater permits, his price could double. You know, should we, I don't know if I could say a price for that, I think I should, you know, the engineer.
Would it, I guess I don't even feel comfortable making a decision because I feel like I'm not even sure what we're saying we're gonna go forward with. Would
Can we,
this,
Julie?
I'm sorry?
Could we hear from Julie? Because she met with the committee at looking at the land.
Oh, does the board want to hear from Julie?
I'm good with it. I don't know why it would hurt.
Well, I just feel so unclear about what Julie has to say and what would put the board at risk if we're talking about acquisitions.
I don't know what information she has to offer.
So my preference would be that Todd is the property manager and Todd makes a recommendation to the board about property, and we have that conversation in executive session.
Is there a committee that's been formed to look at this property and value it? It'd be interesting to hear from the town manager.
She's still there?
Yeah, she's still there. Nope, now she's not. Well, she's still in the room, but she put her hand up.
I got a question. So you're saying it's how much if it was through, I know we don't want to talk numbers, but you said you said the number on if it was to go to fall. It was how much?
That was
530.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's 530, but would it be wrong to ask what the number would be if we got that property and how much it would cost to develop it? So the way we want it, because you're saying the bond was without that property and it's 530. Which one is going to cost less if you went with reconstructing the parking lot the way it is, or if we buy this lot and we put a road through it, there it is?
So in order for you to have that information, he would need to continue to talk to them.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's what we're asked, that's what I'm
Getting
asking.
numbers is hurt though. That's, I mean.
No, I
Options,
don't have any problem with that. I think
You would
that's
have
enough.
two different options then. You have two different options for your board to move forward, to start talking about.
I think the question
bond
was, how
items.
much is that gonna cost for him to go get more information? He doesn't have an answer to that, so we're in like this vicious loop of what are we authorizing? Unlimited money for Todd to go on an exploration study or up to $5,000?
And I also look like both options, not just,
Yeah,
not
it's gonna
just
cost you look.
buying the property, but utilizing the property we already own.
Yeah.
Is it gonna cost you any money to
I don't
get
believe so.
information?
No, I don't believe so.
It shouldn't. I do construction.
But you
It
can't
should-
spend it.
it should not.
Here's the thing, right, and I just wanna make sure that I'm clear with all this, I could come back next month and say, forget it, because it's in a realtor's hands and it got sold. So, and then it's a moot point.
We
This is
couldn't
all-
authorize you to buy anything
this-
tonight.
No.
No, that's not, that wasn't what this
Yeah.
conversation was.
No, I'm just looking for numbers.
Yeah,
If
great.
it's- if, say it's 400,000 to go that way instead of 530, I would.
Deb?
Can I suggest that we put it on the agenda for next month as an executive session so he can come in and give us actual numbers?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, and I
So
think
we're-
that- I
so
think
we're
that's
authorizing
the direction
him to
we're
go
looking.
forward.
Do we want to move that way, or do you not want to move that direction at all? So I think that's.
To know all the scenarios, but it starts with an executive session to hear numbers.
You need to get numbers so we can.
Yeah, that's.
Construction too. I would love to see a rough assessment without spending it. Just a rough.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
We do that. Lots of direction.
You gonna make a motion on that? Make a motion for Todd to get numbers without spending any money. No pressure.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you.
You probably should have listened to my wife.
I'm
Serious. She had some good news, but
Do you?
nope, she's not gonna talk now. So. Too bad.
All right, next item on the agenda is old business. Procedures for Zoom, public comment. As I had alluded to earlier, there really is no change that's going to be enacted. A couple of board members approached Deb, had a conversation with her as a few members of the public. She listened and felt that maintaining what we're doing now, security options, is fine if that is acceptable to the board.
I have a question. Is the reason that we're not showing people because of that thing that happened last time?
So, and I spoke about this before the meeting started. I'm going to talk about it briefly again, so it's on the, in the minutes and part of the record. So we were talking even prior to what happened about trying to improve our security in terms of managing when people are speaking. And we found the pieces that we were missing to be able to do what we've done tonight. Everybody is muted when they enter the room, and their ability to unmute themselves has been eliminated. Zoom allows me to go and individually unmute someone who has raised their hand. Zoom will not allow me to go in and permit somebody to to show their video as an individual, unless we run this instead of as a meeting, as a webinar, which has some other effects. So we're not going to do that. It does mean that anybody who is participating through Zoom is not going to be able to have their face shown. And I'm sorry, but it is not a requirement that in order to participate in public comment or in order to vote, that you be able to be seen. You just have to be able to be heard. And as you can see, we've been doing this with all of our meetings in the month of October. It's worked reasonably well, and that's what we're going to continue with. You know, we spoke directly with the people in charge of Zoom to say, how do we do that? And the answer was, you can't.
Will that also prevent that kind of an incident that we had?
To the extent that you know, we should not have nobody, unless they really are able to do things above and beyond. Nobody is able to show their screens or to display themselves or to speak unless they are individually directly given permission. And the way this works is that if I give someone permission to speak, if they don't immediately speak, it, without my doing anything, automatically mutes them again.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Any further discussion? There's no action to be taken. Next order of business is executive session. discuss labor agreements, so.
Executive session, teacher contract, early retirement, two-step motion. Make a motion to find the premature general public knowledge regarding interpretation of the teacher contract would put the board at a substantial disadvantage because it's risk disclosing negotiation strategies if they were discussed in open session.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. Second motion. Ready? Make a motion to enter into executive session under Title I, VSA 13-A-1B for the purpose of discussing Section 18.2 of the current teacher bargaining agreement concerning the board's discretion to offer early retirement incentives, inviting Lauren Pearman and Cheryl Hammond. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're now in executive session. So we are back in session at 10:33 p.m. Right.
We, the board, for the remainder of the current school year, June 2024, we as a board decline to take any action on any requests for retirement benefits.
What's that, the motion?
That's the motion. Second.
Seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, moving on. So we are now at our final public comment section. Is there anyone that signed up? Can I have the sheet, please?
Yes.
All right, Sarah Stoll from Bartlesville.
Okay. Shout out to Abe. So I think we should all read that statute. So I'm just going to go back to that. Let's read it. Let's agree on it. You'll find your legal counsel and then be done. And regarding the emails, I just want to say, if we want to go down the road of who sent bad emails, who's trashing who on Facebook, Mr. Kendall, etc., we could do that. Social media is a terrible thing. Why doesn't everybody just say, we made some mistakes saying bad things about people that we disagree with, and we're all going to go home and be much bigger boys and girls and non-binary people, and stop trashing people here, there, or everywhere. And then we can come back, and possibly that would meet Adrian's goal of everybody being just a little bit nicer and kinder and getting along on the things that you actually do agree on and can work on. So let it go.
Amen.
Did you?
I didn't know we had a second. We've been going with the first one. If your name
Oh,
is
I'm
on
sorry, I
the
put it up. Would you like to stop?
Yes.
We have to go in order though, so
That's
if you'd like to sign up and we'll go through these.
Catherine Martins?
Good evening. I'm Kathy, and I was a teacher at Chester Andover for 40 years. And I also graduated from Green Mountain Union High School way back in the 1970s. So I would have been one of those kids that would have voted. And to be perfectly honest, I have absolutely no idea which of the names I voted for. I don't even remember what the other names were, but I would just encourage the board to be strong and to look at the lesson this whole issue can be for the kids at Green Mountain presently. That name was chosen a whole long time ago. I was very happy at Green Mountain Union High School. I love my high school. Can't say I've ever been attached terribly strongly to a name. And I just think we as adults in all of the towns can model for these kids that we can accept change, that things are different now. And I think it would be a wonderful thing if, because there's so many kids from Ludlow coming to Green Mountain, I think it could be a wonderful unifying, bonding thing if the Ludlow kids, the Chester kids, the Cavendish kids, the tuition kids all got to vote on a name, and we as adults kind of stay out of it and model to them that we're okay when things change because they're watching us. The other thing I want to just very quickly do is encourage the board, because I can see that, I mean, these are hard times, I think, for anybody doing any kind of public service right now in our country. And I just encourage you to keep working together, to keep working really hard, to collaborate. Thank you.
Matt Gorski?
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to start off by thanking Adrian for keeping a smooth, tight meeting these last few ones where she's been at the lead. The other thing I would like to mention is that intent on something when it's first done doesn't matter. I can intend not to shoot somebody and still do it, and the harm is still done. And thirdly, I don't appreciate board members blaming constituents for board costs when those constituents are following their legal rights for redress of a decision that they don't agree with. And that is aimed directly at Mr. Kendall. Thank you very much.
All right, and Julie Hance.
Yes, I'm certainly not wanting to get into the middle of your meeting or influence any voting or anything as was suggested. I am just simply trying to let you know that I was on a call today and learned of a large transportation alternatives grant that school districts are now eligible to apply for that could possibly help fund your project dealing with safer routes and traffic around your school. Todd has already called me, and I let him know. I will share with him the link and contact info to contact. It's a grant of up to $600,000, so it could go a long way for the school. That's it.
Wonderful, thank you, Julie. That's great. And that's everybody on.
Okay, Randy.
I too would like to endorse the motion for Todd to explore this, because once the land is gone, it's gone. And that is a tremendous route to be able to come in and go out and have a lot of options with. So I hope we can gather a lot of information this board and we can react before it does get sold out. When it's gone, it's gone. Secondly, I do have a problem with just retiring the name. It's like kicking it aside, Chief did. And the same thing with the emails. I feel strongly, and I've mentioned this before, that a lot of this board is biased and has been from the beginning. My name is in those emails a lot, and I thought there was a lot of wrong things said about me. This is wrong. Like I said, this should have ended in 21. That was the separation. That was both parts coming together and solving the problem. Right now, we keep creating one, and it seems to be the main focus, and that's very sad. It's very sad. I wish this board would just realize this and put it aside, put it in somebody else's hand. Let the voters bring it to vote and let the majority vote on what this name is, good or bad. To kick it aside is something bad. It's like saying it's bad. It's not. It really isn't. So I really urge this board to think about the vote and think about what you're going to do at that meeting. Because if you're solely looking at the chieftain name for the indirect and direct point from the state, then everything goes with that. The Green Mountain name, the school, everything goes down that rabbit hole. Your job is to solve the problem. The problem was solved in 21. Separated it. We can rename this name. It was intended for leadership, and it can be renamed or just left as it is. Green Mountain Leaders. I don't know what else to say about this. It's gone on far too long, but to just kick it under the table because it's gone on so long is not right. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is the next meeting date. Regular meeting, 6 p.m., November 16th, 2023, here and on Zoom. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So we'll, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.